Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8A to 11A Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
It is a March Madness Monday here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo. Welcome in. Kick of the kicking.
Huh.
That's what I was trying to say.
Whoa, you've
Kicking off the work week.
yeah, there you go. Gotta
Today.
reset your. Gotta unplug you and plug you back in.
Right, just like my laptop.
See, this whole time people have thought, like, James isn't real. He's just an AI creation. Well, cat's out of the bag now. We find out James is actually a humanoid robot.
I am human.
Robot. Humanoid robot. You glitch like other robots.
It happens.
Yeah. Humans don't glitch.
Sometimes you have to lean into the stutter. Okay? You lean in.
Stuttering is an important component to broadcasting.
It really is.
You must stutter.
The more stuttering, the better.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
That's right.
He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We've got Anthony Smith behind the scenes on the video side. We've got dual producers today on the audio side.
See, a show's so big, a Final Four Monday show's so big, we needed two producers.
Had to have two.
Yeah.
We got Will Connerly. We got T-Chains, Taman Turner, who's riding high after UConn's incredible come-from-behind victory over Duke. You know, there was an anchor in Los Angeles, and he was so good at the news desk. Everybody loved him. But he found that to be more relatable to people, he would mess up on purpose. And so once a show, he would stutter or stammer or kind of lose his train of thought intentionally.
Just to prove how human he was.
To prove how human he was. And his likability meter just went through the roof.
And what was his name?
You know, I don't recall,
Oh, okay.
but it's real.
Got it.
I'm not making that up.
Sure.
So, you know, that's
Not
what
just something you heard in a broadcasting class. Okay, good.
No,
Yeah.
nothing like that.
Just my friend used to work in L.A., and he was
Nothing
so
like that.
good.
Yeah,
Emmys, Oscars. I don't even know
much.
they handed Oscars to news people, but they do.
pretty much one of my best friends. So, all right, man. The Final Four is set. Arizona headed to the Final Four. It's how many years in a row for the Big 12 in the Final Four? It feels like a million. Houston last year, Arizona this year. You think about Baylor and Kansas and Texas Tech from 2019 to 2026. Arizona's the latest to join the party. Their first Final Four in 2.5 decades. They take down Purdue. It looked dicey at halftime. Purdue really controlled the first 20 minutes, but Arizona gets the 79-64 win. We've got Illinois, the 3 seed. They beat Iowa 71-59. We've got Michigan, who just dominated Tennessee 95-62. And then UConn, they upset Duke 73-72. Braylon Mullins drained a logo 3 in the closing seconds to send UConn to another Final Four.
I was pretty confident yesterday that I had correctly selected the Final Four. For the first time in my life that I had all Final Four teams right before the bracket. You know, before the tournament started. And I end up with 3 of the 4 because of what happened with Duke and UConn. And I'll be honest, I'm not upset about it because watching Duke and John Shire lose like that again is almost, in some ways, makes me feel better about Kansas losing. It's amazing. Sometimes a joy of a team that you don't like losing
Oh, yeah, story of my life.
brings you so much more joy than any success of your own team.
1997, I've never been a bigger Arizona fan than I was that night.
As
in
soon as
the
you said that, I was
2016.
thinking, this is not going to work in my favor.
It's not going to go well. Then Bradley and Bucknell, I was ordering T-shirts. I would order these T-shirts and then wear them to school the next day. It was kind of my thing. Maryland, we had all kinds of tees.
Oh, there's some big losses in there, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, and look, John Shire can recruit. I mean, when you think about how many blue-chip top overall draft picks, I mean, the Blue Devils had 2 of the top 3 picks last year. There's a good chance they're going to have Boozer's going to be a top 3 pick in one of the best draft classes of all time. They've just, going back to Zion and Williamson, they've been in the championship once in the last 11 years. It's been 11 years since they've been in the championship. Obviously losing the Final Four last year, not getting there this year. Oof. But congratulations to Arizona, Tommy Lloyd. And we'll break down their win over Purdue because it was in dominating fashion. They really, despite the first half of that game, dominated the field in the tournament. In my opinion, they are by far the best, most complete team and have been all year. And Arizona gets to the Final Four for the first time since 2001. It's the first non-Lute Olson Final Four appearance for Arizona, which really, I think, magnifies the blue bloodness of Arizona. And, it's been well documented that teams out of the West have not won a national championship since Arizona did it in 1997. And that's what Arizona's going to try to accomplish next week in Indianapolis. Fingers crossed we'll be there bringing you content throughout the weekend, including Saturday and Monday if Arizona advances to the national championship.
Arizona, Michigan, to me, is the national championship.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not to say that UConn or Illinois won't compete in that game, but you look at the way both teams have gotten to the Final Four. Michigan has scored 90 or more points in all 4 of their wins. 95-62 over Tennessee, 90-77 over Alabama, 95-72 over St. Louis, scored 101 in the opening round against Howard. They are a machine. And to your point, Arizona, they just flipped a switch in the second half and looked like the Arizona that we've seen all year. Dominated the paint, dominated the glass, and looked like, even though they're the youngest team left and Purdue's the oldest, they looked like the team that had been there, even though Purdue was just in the national championship 2 years ago.
Yeah, and then 2 Big Ten teams, 1 Big 12, and 1 Big East team, ACC, SEC, not in the Final Four. And the Big Ten, as long as it's been since a team from the West has won a national championship, the Big Ten has not won a national championship since 2000. Michigan State with Mateen Cleaves and
Morris
Peterson and Tom Izzo. The last time the Big Ten has won a national championship.
Oh, that's the last time the Big Ten?
Yes.
Wow, I thought that was just the last time Michigan State had won it.
No.
I thought, they've gotten pretty close.
That too. The Big Ten has not won a national championship since 2000.
Man.
So it's as long of a streak as that West streak is. And they've got 2 teams in it this year. But Michigan's been there multiple times. They've been there 9 times overall. Have only won 1 national championship. That was back in the 50s, Michigan. There's a lot of long-time droughts broken, and then there's UConn. But Illinois for the first time since 2005 in the Final Four. Arizona the first time since 2001. Michigan's obviously been there but has not had a lot of success. And then UConn, 3 in the last 4 years now. They're attempting to join 1964, 1972 UCLA dynasties, the only program to win 3 titles in 4 seasons. So we talk about UCLA and John Wooden. Anytime you get a program named in that ilk, UConn's in that category here. If they win a title, 3 out of 4 would be. Now, I don't think they win it, but I also didn't think they were going to beat Duke.
Right.
Especially when the game was going on. My God, what a collapse. And I mean, it's the biggest story in sports, and John Shire's face is been heavily memed already.
Oh my gosh.
The number one thing is there's 10 seconds left. You get 10 seconds to get the ball into the front court from the back court. There's got to be an awareness from the team of that. And this is where coaching matters. And I'm not trying to say that John Shire is a bad coach, but simply it's obvious that his team was not prepared enough in that moment to know what to do. We see this in football. There's crazy situations that happen at the end of games. You have to know what to do. And in that situation, Caden Boozer did not need to pass the ball. Now, I get it. You had a couple of guys wide open.
Right. I think instincts just take over.
I guess, but you've got 10 seconds left. The team needs to know they need to come to you. Mm-hmm. We don't need to get the ball in the front court. Even if they call a 10-second call, there'll be tenths of a second left. It's literally 10 seconds, and you've got 10 seconds to get the ball in the front court. It's just one of the most, end-of-game scenarios. If I'm a coach, it's one of the most important things that I'm working on because it feels like the teams that understand how to handle end-of-game scenarios win more times than not in terms of those situations. And this is one of those situations, as crazy as it might have been considering Duke was up 14 late in the second half and they were up 19 in the first half. You've just got to know what to do at the end of these games.
At one point, UConn trailed 44-25. That was with 17 or 18 minutes to go, and they were 1 for 18 from three. And then they hit 2 daggers in the final half minute to get the win. You've got to hear the radio calls for both sides. You've got the UConn side and the Duke side. Let's listen to the UConn game winner first.
And Boozer, they double him. Back to Sarr. Now ahead to Caden Boozer. And a steal. Mullins gets it. It's Caravan to Mullins. Long range three. Oh! It went in! Mullins delivers. Bedlam. Bedlam here.
They're going to go to the monitor to review it.
Absolute bedlam as Mullins threw a 45-footer in.
45-footer in. Bedlam. We don't say bedlam around here.
Yeah, right.
All right, now let's listen to the Duke side. This is amazing.
Get it in. They do for Boozer. Bobbled it. Back for Sarr. Needs to get rid of it. Does for Caden. 7 seconds. Trying to throw it ahead. Deflected. Stolen by Connecticut. 2 seconds. It's Mullins up top for the win. Oh, he hit it. With 0.3 of a second to go. Malachi Smith ran off the bench. That should be a technical. But with 0.3 of a second to go, Connecticut has the lead, 73-72. As Connecticut got the 3 from Mullins after the turnover from Caden Boozer.
I like the Duke call better because you can hear the panic in his voice ramping up and up as it's deflected, and it went in.
Oh, it went in. And then that should be a technical.
Yes.
Just look. Is there a flag on the field? Is there a flag on the field? Is there
something to save us?
And did you see Dan Hurley with like the jacket over one shoulder?
Oh, yeah.
And he got face to face with a referee. Did you see that? He went like nose to nose with the ref, who was like not intending to go nose to nose with him. So he like turns around and he's like nose to nose with this ref. The ref's like, "Wait, are we about to kiss or what?" And I mean, Hurley like gave him an intense look. I'll say, as much as it would have been fun to have the Final Four pegged completely correct, which I was a UConn ridiculous shot away from it, having Dan Hurley at the Final Four is amazing.
Must see TV.
UConn, I mean, they're the big bad wolf. Again, this is their third Final Four in 4 years. They're looking to win a third national championship in 4 years. So as much as they dealt with adversity. And then the biggest stat, if you remember, we talked about that net rating at plus 35 heading into the tournament.
Yep.
Every team, all 4 Final Four teams last year, plus 35 in that Ken Palm net rating, and they all made the Final Four. In the history of the Ken Palm ratings from 98 to 2024, that stat was 9 for 9. Teams that were plus 35 pre-tournament in the net rating were 9 for 9 making the tournament between 98 and 24. Then all 4 made it last year. And now Duke is the one team plus 35 before the tournament. And remember, they were at plus 40 before the tournament. One of the all-time great numbers in net rating. But they're the first team ever plus 35 to not make the Final Four.
The one outlier.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote on the rundown because going into the UConn-Duke game, I thought, is Ari about to have a 4-for-4 Final Four?
Well, I was about to.
But with the UConn win, somebody else in this room, I believe, went 4-for-4 on their Final Four. Taman's shaking his head no.
No, I didn't go 4-for-4.
You had Illinois.
I did not have Illinois.
Well, then I'm reading the bracket challenge wrong.
Yeah, clearly.
I had Houston.
Oh, well, excuse me.
I had Illinois.
Okay.
I had Illinois in 3 1 seeds, and as it turns out, obviously it's Illinois, UConn.
I stand
2 1 seeds.
I
Yes.
stand corrected. Man, I had a script ready for that. It's very disappointing. Nobody in this room went 4-for-4. Speaking of Houston, Kelvin Sampson, will he be back next season? The answer is simply yes. He spoke to our guys at the Houston Chronicle. Kelvin Sampson is coming back for another season at Houston. Does that mean maybe Chris Sinak considers coming back? They're going to look very different next year. He still has 3 years left on his contract. He signed a 4-year extension last May, so he's under contract through the 28-29 season. Does he play that out? I'm starting to think maybe he does. He said he's as excited as he's ever been to keep coaching. So Kelvin Sampson, it didn't take long for him to realize, hey, I'm going to be back next year. I'm not going out like this.
Yeah, I'm glad for a quick and swift decision. Wish that other programs would have similar quick resolutions.
Like who?
I don't know. Couldn't think of another program that has a potential coach up in the air in terms of their long-term status. Maybe not. Was something announced over with Kansas or no?
I got nothing.
Got it. Okay, good. Just didn't know if I missed something over the weekend.
You did not. No.
But I mean, the world is better with Kelvin Sampson coaching basketball in it. So that's all good. Yeah, there was a ton of news that came fast and furiously. I mean, we'll break down the Iowa State game and their loss to Tennessee. Obviously, missing Joshua Jefferson, that was hugely critical in this one. Immediately we learned that Milan Momcilovic is heading for the draft, and we know that Lipsey's gone, so that'll be a huge, roster turnover for Iowa State. So, yeah, a lot transpiring, in the moments following these losses and even wins in the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight.
Yeah, the Big 12 will look very different next year. You already have 3 new coaches. You have a lot of guys headed to the NBA. It's the most loaded draft class in the history of the league. But we've still got one team left. And the goal for the Big 12 coming into the tournament, they said, we don't care how many Sweet 16 teams, how many Elite Eight. We don't care about Final Fours. We want a national championship. And Arizona looks like a team that could win a natty. They're 2 games away. They've got Michigan, and then the winner of Illinois and UConn will break down Arizona's win over Purdue coming up next. Arizona was dead in the water at halftime. Then they totally flipped the script, and Tommy Lloyd will tell us what happened in that locker room at the break. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo.
We're going to play through those post guys, screens, pick and roll, high-low, everything.
Burries tries. That's a 3, and it'll go. Braden Burries.
Not a
Shot
mismatch.
clock under 10.
They have Pete if they want him.
Burries step back. Gets another.
Never mind. Don't worry about Pete.
You saw that Penn State game, obviously. It's surprising.
Oh, what a find. Burries the stuff.
He makes plays now. He's done that a few times. Got to get away from him. Yep.
Bradley knew he had it. Just picked his pocket.
Nice pass.
Burries the stuff, guard to guard.
About that. All set up by defense.
Bradley got tangled up in gridlock with Castillo, and he threads it through beautifully. Scintillating pass to Burries.
Vision is extraordinary.
Just under 21 a game. Ball chipped away. Kana goes down to the floor. Loose ball. Krivas push up ahead. Burries throws it down.
Terrific play by the big fella.
Just kind of flung it up. No good. Burries draws a foul. Hits a shot. Prospects in this game. Karchenkov hustles and gets the rebound and finds Burries. Oh my goodness. Oh! What a dunk from the freshman guard.
The very talented freshman got space and put him on a poster. But this game concerned about complacency tonight. And they have gotten haymakers thrown at them. But there's Braden Burries giving Arizona the lead.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you, the full-time fan, by Modelo. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Heard exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling, Arizona. So what do Gilbert Arenas, Richard Jefferson, and Jason Gardner have in common with Braden Burries, Koa Pete, and Jaden Bradley?
They're all good players.
They're all really good players who played at Arizona. Those three guys, Arenas, Jefferson, Gardner, Luke Walton. That's 4 of the 5 that started. Michael Wright was the other. The last time Arizona made a Final Four, 2001. Arizona's in the Final Four. It didn't look good at halftime. They get the win 79-64. Their first Final Four in 25 years. They're on a 13-game winning streak. So Arizona led 19-12. Let's just go through the first half. And then Purdue made a run. Even with Trey Kaufman-Renn, who's super annoying to watch play basketball, the ultimate complainer. He picks up his second foul just seconds after he re-enters the game with like 12 minutes to go in the first half. So he's sitting the rest of the first half. But then Oscar Clough comes in and dominates on both ends. I thought he was all over the place. Offensive rebounds, stickbacks, blocks. Purdue also put in Daniel Jacobson, who's 7'4" and had only played like 2 minutes in their last 2 tournament games. And it just completely shifted the tide where Purdue was getting a lot of points in the paint. They led 38-31. They were 7 of 14 from 3 in the first half. So Arizona's down by 7. They had just outscored Arkansas by 21 just days ago, and they're down by 7 at the break. At halftime, how did you feel?
Not great. Yeah, no, I mean, because I think the biggest piece about Arizona is, you know, that you're not going to be able to catch up if teams are raining threes on you. And so, I mean, they were, 7 of 14?
Yeah, Purdue was on fire.
Purdue hit 7 of 14 threes in the first half. So, yeah, you're thinking that's not good. Now, part of me thought, well, they're not going to keep up at 50% the entire game.
Especially because of those 7 threes, I think most of them were from guys who came off the bench. To your point.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't feel great because on the one hand, it's like, well, if they're raining threes, forget about it. On the other hand, I didn't think they could shoot 50% from 3 for the entire game. But, I mean, just how quickly, the swiftness for which Arizona sort of erased all doubts. And I'm sure from an Arizona fan perspective as well, you're thinking, like, here we go again.
Yeah, that was my thought. I thought this looks like a team that for the first time all year is rattled. But Tommy Lloyd breaks down the first half and the message that he had for his team during halftime.
We got off to a good start, and then we didn't play great, but I thought Purdue played really well the second part of that first half. And in the locker room at halftime, you know, you have long half times. We've talked a lot about this with the guys, long half times, long timeouts. We can't let that disrupt our rhythm. And we have to be the team that comes out with the most effort out of a timeout, you know, these 3-minute timeouts or, you know, a 20-minute halftime. And, you know, we ran, you know, Murphy does what our normal routine, shows the guys some clips. I come in when he's kind of done, talk to them, kind of my thoughts and a little overall thoughts for what I think what we need to do in the second half. And then these dudes have been unbelievable. And this is when we're at our best. I said, guys, the coaching staff and I are going to leave right now. You guys got a few minutes to talk amongst yourselves and kind of figure this deal out, and let's go kick their ass in the second half. And all these dudes, I was literally a spectator just like you guys were in that second half. That's what it felt like, and so proud of these guys for what they did, you know, for our program and obviously our community.
Well, it worked. Arizona went on a 16-3 run to open the second half. They immediately erased the deficit. I thought the biggest shot in this game, Arizona's up by 3. They get a steal. They're on a fast break, and they kick it out after an offensive rebound to Anthony Del Orso, and he's wide open on the wing, and he sinks a 3 to expand the lead to 6. The crowd's going crazy. Arizona players are jumping around. I'm like, game over. We got him. Arizona's got him.
No, that moment, too, was the total highlight of it. I mean, it went from – in some ways, it was reminiscent to me of the national championship game with Kansas and North Carolina, where Kansas just erased a 12-point first-half deficit almost immediately in the second half. And you just felt like Kansas was in control, and that happened. And the same thing in the Arizona part, where it was like, as much as you felt, oh no, here we go again about the first half, I mean, it was as quickly to erase that feeling because of how they came out shooting the basketball in the second half to sort of prove, like, by the way, we can shoot threes too. Like, I know we're not known as a prominent three-point shooting team. It's almost, at this point, it's jumped the shark as a point about Arizona. Like, they can shoot threes. They're not, like, against shooting threes. Right. They just don't need to. They're so efficient on the interior. I thought Karchenkov was arguably the best player in this game. I mean, his stat line was unbelievable. I mean, Koa Pete also, he joins a very short list of freshmen to score 20 points in back-to-back Sweet 16 Elite 8 games. But think about Koa Pete. He had the incredible game to start the season against Florida, and he had a good season, but nothing ever came close to how he was that initial game. And in the Sweet 16 Elite 8, he was the best.
20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Karchenkov had 18 points. Burries with 14. Jaden Bradley scored most of his 14 in the second half, started to get to the foul line. Tommy Lloyd touched on it briefly there, but here's more on his players taking charge in the locker room and in the huddle as Arizona made their comeback.
And so they hear me a lot. And I feel like, you know what, one of the things I'm so proud of when I listen to these guys at the press conference, when they're, with no prompting, relaying the messaging that our coaching staff's trying to get them to understand, it tells me that our guys are paying attention. So the most powerful, thing in a team sport is a player-led program. The coach kind of you have to help them navigate it. But when you can get the players to kind of own these moments, you're just so much better. You're so much better. And for me, and I've done it, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 times this year, and every time it's worked. So you probably can't do it too often, but I've done it at a few timeouts. I've done it at a couple half times, and these guys have a way about them. There's a seriousness about them, and they know how to kind of ratchet things down and tighten it up and get after people. So I was really proud of them and how they responded in that second half.
Koa Pete, we noted his stats with the 20 points, but all 20 points were super impactful. Like, it wasn't a quiet 20. It was, let's dump the ball into the paint and let Koa Pete go to work. And his turnaround 8 to 10 foot jump shot is a work of art. I mean, it is beautiful. And then even on some misses, his own misses, he would collect, he would regather, and then he had a couple of thunderous dunks in the game. Just an all-around dominant performance by Pete.
Well, and you mentioned Karchenkov, 18 points and 8 rebounds, but then he also got the defensive assignment on Braden Smith, and I thought he did a fantastic job there as well. Obviously, I mean, U of A in the second half completely destroyed Purdue on defense. Purdue entered last night number 1 in the country, rather Saturday night, number 1 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. From the 17-23 mark in the second half, over the next 9 full game minutes, Arizona held the Boilers to just 7 points, which resulted in a 24-7 Arizona run. But think about that. I mean, maybe I think right now Arizona's the number 1 Ken Palm defense. So the number 1 Ken Palm defense completely destroyed the number 1 Ken Palm offense.
Yeah.
We talk in football about defense besting offense right now. Well, we're seeing Arizona do it as well in in basketball. And look, Arizona, to me, they're going to win a national championship. They are the most complete team in the field that's left right now. And as we're looking at it, like, people have talked throughout the year about different teams in Michigan and so good, and Duke and blah blah. They've looked beatable. Obviously, Duke looked very beatable in this tournament, and they kept flirting with disaster and then finally succumbed to it. I think Arizona's been the best team all year.
Mm-hmm. Defense wins championships. Last year, Houston knocking on the door. This year, it's Arizona. Koa Pete spoke about Tommy Lloyd and his inspiration for the young freshman.
Before the game, I think it was back to before the LIU game, just had me ready to play, honestly, that night. And we played the next day in the morning. So, I mean, Coach, he's great, ever since he recruited me, it's been nothing but love. And I'm just happy to, be able to win games for him. Me and these guys, we want to win as many games as we can for Coach because he deserves it. And he won't say it, but I think he's the best coach in the country.
Best coach in the country. And then you talked about the defensive effort and how it took a total team effort to guard Braden Smith. who's a dynamic, electrifying point guard, but he's not a great shooter, and Arizona made him work in the second half, and I thought he got tired. It looked like he got tired. All of his shots were coming up short. He tweaked an ankle. Jaden Bradley, Clip 7, spoke about the group effort that it took guarding Braden Smith.
Great leader for them. He had to go in the first half, kind of doing anything he wanted. He still got to his spots in the second half. He just wasn't, hitting all of the shots. But it's just a tough cover. Just trying to get through all those ball screens. I feel like our bigs did a great job helping us. Just in different defensive coverages, and whoever was guarding them did a great job of just mixing it up on them. So just shout out to Coach Murph for the scout, and we kind of stuck with it.
Purdue shot just 38% from the floor. It was their second lowest point total of the entire season. And those three seniors, Smith, Kaufman, Wren, and Lawyer, combined to shoot just 12 of 38 from the field.
Wow. Well, I mean, and, this is what we've known all season. I mean, Arizona will wear you down physically. And, I mean, it's a grind to play them. And I know the Big Ten's all good, and they've got two teams in the Final Four, but that was a team that ran out of gas against a more physical team. And ultimately, the tournament finds you out. What are your flaws? Even if your flaws are not exposed the first round or the second round or in the Sweet 16, at some point, those flaws are going to be exposed front and center for everybody to see. It may not occur in the first round. It may not occur in the Sweet 16. It may not even occur in the Elite Eight. It may get to the Final Four with those flaws. But ultimately, your flaws are going to be on full display, and I think Purdue's defense was their undoing. That was going to be their undoing all year. It took them as far as it could possibly take them, and there was an elite offense that wasn't good enough on defense, and physically they were worn down. Congratulations to an incredible run for Purdue and Matt Painter. That's a core group of guys that have been to multiple Sweet 16s, multiple Elite Eights, a Final Four, a national championship appearance with Smith and Lawyer and Trey Kaufman-Wren, but it'll be a new page for Purdue next year.
Koa Pete broke Mike Bibby's freshman record for points in an Elite Eight game with 20.
He also joined a very exclusive club of, and I hope I'm getting this right, I think it's Anthony Davis, Con Knippel, Koa Pete, and Derrick Rose, the only freshmen to score at least 20 points in back-to-back Sweet 16 and Elite Eight games.
D. Rose. You had me at Derrick Rose.
Yeah. Not a bad list.
All right, Arizona opens as a 1.5-point underdog in their Final Four game against Michigan. The two teams are a combined 71-5. Those 5 losses between the two, a combined 25 points.
9th Final Four for Michigan, their first since 2018.
2018 wasn't Trey Burke.
No, that was 2013, the one before that. They finished as the national runner-up 6 times and only one national championship out of all of their trips to the Final Four. This year, there is, these two teams are as good as there is. And I agree with you when you said earlier that whoever wins this game probably wins the national championship. Arizona's won each of its postseason games by double digits with an average margin of victory of 20.5 points. They've not trailed. They had not trailed in a single NCAA tournament game before the Purdue Elite Eight first half. Michigan is the first school to win at least 4 games in the NCAA tournament by double digits, while scoring at least 90 points in each.
They're the first?
Yeah. First to score 90 points in each of their tournament games and still win by double digits in each of those games.
Dang. Yeah, they're on a heater. They do average 1 vulnerability for Michigan. They're 254th in the country in turnovers. They turn the ball over a lot, over 12 per game. That's one area where they have struggled, even in this tournament. But, man, they're big.
Well, and going back to my last point, your flaws will find you out. Arizona's a team that can exploit teams that turn the basketball over. This is why I'm confident that Arizona's going to win it all.
And, man, both teams dominate the paint. It is a strength-on-strength matchup.
Well, and this is something I know we're going to be talking about later, but size matters. Guys, don't let ladies tell you it doesn't. Size matters. In the NCAA tournament, of course. That's what we're talking about.
Story of our lives.
Yeah.
All right. Nick Giamonte, college basketball writer for TCU. They're in the Elite Eight on the women's side.
Huge game tonight.
South Carolina looming. It's tonight for a Final Four berth on the line. That's coming up next here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari, I'm James. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios, listening to us exclusively on TuneIn.
Don't forget, BYU Villanova. We'll get our first look at A.J. DeBonsa as Koa Pete on the receiving end.
Execution on that possession from Florida.
Xavier Lee hits his second three of the night. Oh! Koa Pete from the rafters!
What a pass and delivery against Condon.
Here comes Bradley. Bradley gives it to Pete. Pete, look out below! One highlight after another! Mr. Arizona has arrived at the collegiate level.
Utah steal, then they throw it right back to the Wildcats. NASCAR tempo, a lob, and Pete brings the house down.
Senior out of Rickards High School, Tallahassee, that venerable program. Pete the screen for Karchenkov, and they'll play it together for two and a foul. Rebound pawed down by Krivas. On the hit ahead, Pete. Duck.
Woo-hoo! How about the outlet pass? Here's the end of the play.
Johnson will. Yeah, he will. And he hit the backboard.
Numbers here.
Burries. Flanked by Pete and a hammer.
Bringing it all. The Chandeliers as well. They can be explosive.
And look at his work on Mo Krivas down low.
The lob. Oh, watch out. High above the rim. Bradley trying to find one of his bigs. He gets it to Pete. Pete off balance. Fires. Oh, what a shot.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. A massive game tonight on the women's side for TCU back in the Elite Eight. They take down Virginia in the Sweet 16, 79-69, as we welcome in Nick Giamonte from Sports Illustrated, college basketball writer for TCU, and almost thought this was a typo. Olivia Miles and Marta Suarez scored or assisted on every single one of TCU's 79 points in that 10-point win over Virginia. How can you even put that into words, just their impact on the floor?
Yeah, it was unreal. First of all, thanks for having me. And it's one of those performances that, again, like you said, doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even sound right, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. Like I think it's one of the greatest teammate performances in NCAA tournament history. Just every single point being scored or assisted on by two players is unreal. But that's the duo that's been doing it for TCU all year. And if there's any two teammates that would have that type of performance, it would be them.
Yeah, and you know, I think what's interesting too is though they get the headlines and had such an incredible performance in the offensive end, like from a rebounding perspective and from a defensive perspective, I mean, Donovan Hunter did a great job on Johnson, who had been Virginia's best player. I thought Basham and Silva did a great job of the interior with rebounding. So, you know, they'll get the headlines, and rightfully so, based on that offensive showing. But defensively and rebounding the ball, TCU needed all five.
Yeah. That's going to be the massive thing for South Carolina is that you're not going to be able to have that type of duo performance every game, so you're going to need others to step up. But like you mentioned, like Donovan Hunter's going to guard the other team's best guard every night, and then Clara Silva is going to be the massive X factor because she's 6'7" and has all the talent in the world, but is still young and putting it together. So we'll see. And then Taylor Bigby's been making threes and having a great NCAA tournament, but it's the others, and I'm glad you brought that up because while a lot of the offense, and yes, like you mentioned, the other supporting cast played roles in that Virginia game, but the others are going to have to step up to beat a team like South Carolina because with all due respect to Virginia and their Cinderella run, I think everyone knows that South Carolina is just a different monster, so they're going to need those supporting casts to step up big time.
TCU's Olivia Miles is averaging a triple-double in the NCAA tournament, 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists. So of those three categories, where, in your opinion, has she been the most impactful for this team in this run?
Yeah, I think it's the assist. Like, that's what kind of separates her from being, a good to great player. Her vision is I'd put her vision up with anybody in basketball. Her ability to come with a pick and roll, her reads are elite. Her ability to throw one-handed passes across court, skip pass, bounce pass, everything. You can't teach that, and that's why they went after her in the portal. That's why she's going to be probably a top 5 WNBA draft pick, is because that's just what's so unique and so special about her game, and her ability to set up her teammates, I think, is massive because I don't know if there's anybody else on that roster that can, or there's surely nobody else on that roster that can facilitate in the way she does. So, yeah, while she's become a way better scorer this year at TCU than years past in Notre Dame, and her rebounding has been amazing, and especially to get it out quick to her so she can just board and run and go in transition. But I mean, her vision is what makes her special and what makes her so fun to watch.
It's really interesting because they're back at the same spot they were last year in the Elite Eight against a 1 seed to try to get to the Final Four. Last year was all 1 seeds in the Final Four. We expect this year to be the same. TCU's never been to a Final Four before. Set the stage for us tonight. Like, is there a path for TCU to win this basketball game?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, right? Because in women's basketball, the elite in the 1 seeds are just at a different level. TCU's big underdogs in this one, and rightfully so. Like when they played South Carolina last year, I think only 5 players on both rosters played in that game, so I don't want to put too much weight into that. But you saw what happened against the elite teams. What I will say is that what's different this year is Olivia Miles is a game changer. She's her talent is up there with anybody in the country, which I don't think that TCU had a player as talented as Olivia Miles last season. I think they added a lot more size with Clara Silva and Kennedy Bastion, and even Marta Suarez at her size to be able to kind of move like a guard at that 4 spot is special. So I think they're better equipped than last year for sure. But, I mean, South Carolina is on an elite roll. You saw what they've been doing to teams this tournament, just completely blowing out everybody they see. I think they have like 6 scores, scoring double figures this tournament, which is crazy. All shooting over 50%. So they're just so deep. So while I think it's a long shot, as much as I would love to see them win, they're gonna need big performances from, like I mentioned, some of the other players like a Taylor Bigby or Donovan Hunter or Clara Silva or Kennedy Basham or any of those players.
Yeah, South Carolina's been to 5 straight Final Fours. They've been to the Elite Eight. This is their 9th Elite Eight. They're 7-1 in this round under Dawn Staley, and South Carolina opens as a 13.5-point favorite. But even though they just blasted Oklahoma 94-68, they did lose to an Oklahoma team by a dozen earlier this season. Like, is there any weakness for South Carolina? Like, when you talk about the path, I see that they're massive. I see that they have 5 players scoring 11 or more points, but is there any, like, chink in their armor?
Yeah, it's tough because, yes, they lost some games early on in the season, but, like, they've just been on such a roll recently. I just think it's going to be, like, not being able to contain MC's offense, Mark Campbell's offense. It's when you have the pick and roll working and Olivia Miles is on, then I don't think anybody in the country can guard an Olivia Miles and Marta Suarez. As we mentioned before, that duo is special, and that duo is played at the elite programs with, Marta Suarez has been at Tennessee, and Olivia Miles has been at Notre Dame, and these are programs that are close to the elite, if not the elite. So I think in that sense, just based off talent, like you can get hot at the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't look at South Carolina as anything to exploit. I think that the size could be a small advantage. Chloe Kitts went down for South Carolina before the season, and yeah, like their subs are like their roster so deep that it hasn't seemed to matter. But I mean, anytime you have a star player like that go down and have to play through the backups, maybe you could exploit it with a Suarez and a Silva and some of that size inside.
Do you think this team is better than last year's team?
I go back and forth with that, and it's tough because they're both so good in their own right. I think this team is more talented. I'll say that, which is kind of evident with Miles and Suarez and what they're going to do in the WNBA draft. Like last season, only one player from that team played minutes in the WNBA, and that was Haley Van Lith. And that team was almost more like they were, unranked preseason and kind of not expected to be there. And it was this magical run for the first Elite Eight appearance in TCU history. And this season had higher expectations for sure. So I will say they are more talented. I will say they're better equipped to beat a team like South Carolina than last season.
Yeah, that's a great question because the comps, I mean, they're almost identical. This year's team is 32-5 and 15-3 in the Big 12. It's almost like those 3 losses felt like a little bit of a letdown, like they could have just swept the Big 12 with how talented they are. You mentioned the WNBA, Miles and Suarez. Like, where are they projected to be drafted?
Yeah, I think Olivia Miles will be a first-round pick undoubtedly with her skill, and she could have been, I think, number 2 overall. She was projected in a lot of mocks last season, but came to play for TCU, thankfully. And then I think Marta's probably a fringe first rounder right now, but if she keeps playing like she did last game and like her potential shows, I would pick her in the first round. And I think her talent, her ability to stretch the floor as a 3, her ability to handle the ball. Like, she's a guard that's 6'3" or whatever height she is. She's a guard playing the 4, and that's a rare skill set to find.
All right, what's the path to victory tonight for TCU?
It's it's Olivia Miles just controlling the game. It's her setting up, and then it's she's gonna get Taylor Bigby good shots. She's gonna get Donovan Hunter good shots. She's gonna get Clara Silva on the roll good shots. They're gonna have to contribute. Olivia Miles has to control the game, and then TCU supporting cast has to make shots, because no matter how the game goes, you're going to get a shot in the arm from South Carolina. They're going to go on a big run. Their defense is going to show up big time. TCU's defense is also going to show, or is also elite, so we'll see how they do against them. But it's the supporting cast. Like, even if Olivia Miles and Marta Suarez go off, I don't know if that's going to be enough to beat this team. And I'm going to say you need a big performance out of one of Taylor Bigby, Clara Silva, or Donovan Hunter on the offensive end.
Nick, last thing for me, South Carolina's, the UConns, the Texas of women's basketball, and the dominance at the top. What is the next, how does TCU get there? They're close. They've been knocking on the door, back-to-back Elite Eights. But, what are the pieces that TCU or anybody from the Big 12 may be missing to get into that elite company?
Yeah, it's just, recruiting constantly. I think with TCU, and specifically with that case, is that they were such a bad program when Mark Campbell took over 3 years ago that he's almost had to dive into to turning this around fast with basically just portal players like Haley Van Lith and Madison Connor and Sedona Prince and Agnes Eminopu and this year Olivia Miles, Marta Suarez, Clara Silva. To build these elite programs, it's development, it's recruiting out of high school, it's building a program from within, and like you mentioned, the UConns with Gino, South Carolina, Don Staley, you can go on and on, Texas, UCLA, these are programs that have been built over so many years, and all these coaches have been there so many years that it takes time, and I think it's remarkable that TCU hadn't been close to an Elite Eight before. It would be unfathomable 5 years ago, and now they're looking at back-to-backs for the first time in program history, and there are only 2 appearances in program history. So these are unbelievable steps to be able to get there, but it just takes time to build a program to that elite level. But, they have a golden opportunity tonight to jump in there if they can take down one of the giants in South Carolina. So it's super exciting, not just as a TCU fan in grad, but as a Big 12 fan, because they're the one Big 12 team left, and I think it would be huge for the conference as well.
Oh, yeah, it'd be massive. Nick Giramonte from Sports Illustrated, college basketball writer for TCU, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Nick, thank you so much for the insight, your time, and enjoy the game tonight.
Thank y'all for having me. I can't wait.
Nick Giramonte, college basketball writer for TCU and Sports Illustrated, joining us to preview the Elite Eight showdown with South Carolina. The 1 seed out in Sacramento starts at 9 Eastern, 8 o'clock Central tonight. TCU is the 3 seed. You can watch it on ESPN. All right, coming up next, we pivot back over to the men's side. What's next for the Iowa State Cyclones? A full recap of their Sweet 16 game against Tennessee. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Back to live action. Olivia Miles takes Cotton into the paint and then backs her out with 3 to shoot. A deep triple. Wow. Competitive game. We promised you some big plays. We've gotten it so far. Olivia Miles and the Horned Frogs.
The Horned Frogs 8 for 12 to begin. BYU 7 for 12. Miles steps back into a 3. Olivia Miles, 7.
Again, they blitz Miles. Miles stepping back for 3. You bet. Donovan Hunter gets it out to Bielefeld in the corner. Drives, kicks out with a one-handed pass to Miles, who singes the strings from the wing.
And you can see 5 for 6 at the end. Talia Scott was the hot hand. She had 16 points, 13 coming in the quarter, and she joined the 1,000-point club. Olivia Miles.
Mark Campbell making all these set calls right now.
When you're hot, you're hot. Here's Miles Jess. What was happening in that TCU timeout?
So I just listened to TCU's huddle, and Coach Campbell said,
Watch Suarez just setting that screen and then rolling because of the switch there.
Abraham on the switch. Miles will take it again and make it again. Olivia Miles. She's got 20 in the quarter. Step back for 23. Unbelievable performance, and look at the smile.
Excel at that mid-range game, that pull-up.
Miles, no look, what a feed. And Silva finishes.
This is why Olivia Miles is able to easily, and I say that with all due respect, Olivia Miles, her ability to see the court and to pass.
This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. He's on social at Ari Sports. That's ARI Sports. I'm on social at James Westling. We've got Anthony behind the scenes on the video side. We've got Will and T-Chains on the audio side. Will's going to be filling in towards the tail end of the week. Iowa State and Tennessee. So what is next for Iowa State? Iowa State gets bounced from the NCAA tournament 76-62 without All-American Joshua Jefferson. That injury, I think, caught up with Iowa State, and Tennessee's been in the Elite Eight for the third straight year. Like, what Rick Barnes has done at Tennessee is very underrated. By the way, Jacoby Gillespie, he's pretty good. Started his career at Belmont. Casey Alexander, next coach at K-State.
Oh, you're going to have just a ton of Jacoby Gillespies on your team next year.
Identifies talent. Will Richard from Florida last year started his career at Belmont. No big deal.
Awesome.
Elite.
You always want guys that are really good players to start elsewhere.
Yeah. Transfer out.
Yeah. Third Sweet 16 exit in 5 seasons under T.J. Otzelberger. Iowa State is now 1-7 as a program in the Sweet 16. And, yeah, I mean, this one was all about Joshua Jefferson because the Vols just destroyed Iowa State on the glass. That was the story of this game. Tennessee was 43-22 on the glass over Iowa State. So, I mean, And coming into this game, Iowa State had a really good defensive rebounding rate. Tennessee had a really good offensive rebounding rate without Joshua Jefferson, though, that did not look like the Iowa State we had seen all season. And then when that happens, and then Momcilovic, who averages 17 points on 49% shooting from three, goes 2 of 8 from distance on 6 points, just really tough. So, I mean, bad luck for Iowa State. You hate it, but this is how this works. It's important to be healthy at the end of the year. And, you know, as much as you want to put a mulligan on it and say, well, had they been healthy, things might have been different. That's just kind of how the end of the season goes in sports. You need to be healthy, and it's important. And Iowa State was not. It was a fluky, freaky injury. It occurs kind of an innocuous play in the opening round against Tennessee State. You hate to see it because who knows what could have been possible with this Iowa State team had Jefferson not been hurt.
Well, you said it with the rebounding. I mean, 43 to 22. And in the NCAA tournament, just the bigger, stronger teams, at least the last 2 tournaments, seem to be the teams that are advancing, and we'll have more on that here in a moment. But 43 to 22 on the glass. So Iowa State had 22 total rebounds for the entire game. Offense, defense, missed free throw, doesn't matter. And Tennessee had 16 offensive rebounds. They had almost as many offensive rebounds as Iowa State had the entire game, and it led to 42 points in the paint.
And look, I mean, rebounding is not the most important stat. You know, obviously scoring is, and effective field goal, and I think even turnovers are probably a more instructive stat towards winning basketball games. But it certainly seems like the best teams that are left are the best rebounding teams. And maybe it's just a product of being really good on the interior and really, you know, tough teams. But just a hugely important metric as we've seen across the entire season. And you know, you just don't expect Iowa State to be that bad on the boards. But without Jefferson, they were. I mean, basically minus 20 in the boards. Not going to win a Sweet 16 game or a game in January being minus 20 in the boards.
Right. And this game was close at halftime. Like Iowa State, they hung around. They were down 34 to 33 at the break, but then Tennessee opened the second half with a purpose. They were up by 14 at the first media timeout and never looked back. It was essentially Iowa State's third game without Jefferson. If you're Iowa State and you use the word mulligan, which I think is a great word to define kind of their season and maybe the last 2 seasons, because remember last year, all the injury stuff that they had going into the tournament, I mean, it just feels like they are cursed in the NCAA tournament with these untimely injuries.
Well, I think Texas Tech, too, the last 2 years, you know, dealing with significant injuries.
Yeah, it was McMillan last year.
Yeah, Chance McMillan last year. You know, obviously Toppin and then Anderson in this year's tournament. So, look, I mean, at the end of the day, like, the margins are so slim. Now, the further out you get, the larger those differences are or appear to be. But that, like, we'll get there at the end of the NBA season too, where everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, I cannot remember a year where everybody was this hurt." That's just what happens. Like, injuries dictate the outcome of seasons. So, you know, it sucks, but it's the way it goes. You got to be healthy this time of year.
Did you see the NBA's trying to fix the tanking that's taking place?
Yeah, they've been trying to do that all year. This went from being the year of the freshman to the year of the big man. Or maybe it's just back to the year of the freshman. Maybe it's both.
Yeah.
Braden Mullins, Barry's a 35-footer. He's a freshman. It's been the year of the freshman.
Yeah, you're talking college basketball.
Sorry, yes.
I asked you about the NBA.
Right, because rookies.
Got it. Rookies, freshmen.
Tanking. You're with me
now.
now.
One-and-dones. I'm with you.
Thank you. Come on, keep up, Sybil James.
I got to keep up. This guy running circles around me this morning. All right, so what's next for Iowa State? First, let's put a bow on this season. Here's TJ Otzelberger talking about the season coming to an end.
Really proud of our group. Again, you know, for us, you know, we aim every night to lay it on the line, and I feel like our guys do that every night out. So proud of our team. Our performance tonight doesn't diminish anything we accomplished this season, and really proud of this group and been as enjoyable of a group to be around as I've ever had. So tough to have it come to an end.
And then point guard Tamin Lipsey, who is Mr. Iowa State. Nobody's played more career games at Iowa State. Nobody's played more games in the city of Ames because he played high school ball there, grew up in Ames. Tamin Lipsey, his comments after the game.
They can be better than me, I think. Just how they come in and work every day. As freshmen, it's really cool to see. Not all freshmen act how they act. They're very mature, and they wanted to learn every day. It wasn't easy for them. It's never easy for freshmen, but they continued to fight through the season. And really just pleased to leave the program with them and see what they can do. And I think just for me, it was just leading by example as much as I could for those guys, and just showing them the ropes in the early days, and just showing how much passion and fight we have in this program. And it was really easy because those guys have that naturally, and I think that they're going to keep leading this program in the right direction.
Just Taman being Taman, because he's asked after the game about his legacy, and he flips it around and starts praising his teammates. Keelan Torrey and Jamarion Bateman are the freshman guards that he's talking about. Torrey was a starter all year long, 3-star recruit, top 150 kid who just blew up, and then Bateman really came along as the season progressed, and that is the future now of Iowa State basketball.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, this closes a really important chapter of Iowa State basketball. I mean, Lipsey has been such a staple in this conference. And when you think about, you know, growing up in Ames and being associated with Iowa State basketball for as long as he has, I mean, yeah, that's a name that is going to go down in the lore for Iowa State basketball history. And, you know, I mean, 3 Sweet 16 appearances, is that right? 3 Sweet 16 appearances? So, I mean, just an incredible success, but many of those Sweet 16 appearances, losses due to injuries. The first one, I think, was a team that overachieved in T. Joutzenberger's first year in 2022. A team that probably had no business being in the Sweet 16, but got there. And then when you look at the last 2 teams that probably underachieved based on injuries. But there's no doubt that with T. Joutzenberger, that this program is not going anywhere. And while the names and faces will be new, that this is a program that you'll expect to be at the top of the Big 12 for the foreseeable future.
And when we talk about like the Big 12 looking very different next year because of all the freshman talent in this league, the other end of the spectrum is Iowa State, because they have guys like Taman Lipsey, who's out of eligibility, Nate Heisey out of eligibility, Joshua Jefferson's projected to be a first-round pick. But then Milan Momcilovic, according to Yahoo Sports, has declared for the NBA, and he's projected to be anywhere from like 40 to 50. He's going to be a mid to late second-round pick. That was a little surprising to me that he immediately jumped in the NBA, or at least is going to go through the process for Iowa State. So without that core, you know, next year is going to look very different.
Well, look, I mean, I think the way it ended doesn't look great. We'll obviously see where he gets drafted, but you get this guy in the second round. I mean, this guy looks like an NBA player to me in terms of his size and his shooting ability. And when there's more space on an NBA floor, I think this is a guy that could be a, you know, legitimate starter on an NBA roster as a second-round pick if that's where he ends up. Somebody's going to get a steal with him.
I mean, he's the best shooter in college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, he shot 50% the entire season, right?
He shot a lot of threes.
Had a really bad finish, but like helped to carry them to the Sweet 16, and a 50% shooter at 17 points per game all season. Like that's nothing to sneeze at.
Joshua Jefferson.
I know you sneeze at a lot of things. That's not one to sneeze at.
I don't sneeze at that. That's a bold statement that I will not be sneezing at. It's allergy season. Joshua Jefferson, man, he was emotional after the game. It's been so tough to watch these guys after games because you see how much they've put into it. You see how much they care, like Emmanuel Sharp, Milos Uzan at Houston, and then it was Taman Lipsey and Joshua Jefferson at Iowa State. Here's Jefferson.
Yeah, and then just forever grateful for this time. That's majority of it. Just not being able to go out there and fight with them. It's hard. Something I just gotta live with. Always the what if for the rest of my life, and knowing how far we could have went. I really think we could have won it all if I was out there, but. I think everything happens for a reason. God has a plan for all of us, so just got to continue to trust it, even though it can be really frustrating. But,
man, that sucks. That sucks to hear. Joshua Jefferson felt like Iowa State could win the whole thing. If he was out there, he would have been a difference maker in this game. It's also a guy who is off to the NBA. I mean, his comments were pretty straightforward. He's projected to be a mid to late first round NBA draft pick. So now, like, your core for next year is Blake Buchanan, Keelan Torrey, Jamarion Bateman, and then Dominicus Plata. Now, Iowa State does have a top 20 recruiting class coming in, number 18 per 24/7 Sports Composite. It's their third top 20 class in the last 5 recruiting cycles, highlighted by Christian Wiggins, who's a 6'5" guard, 4-star prospect, top 50 kid. But in terms of Iowa State, like, does it feel like the end of an era, or does it feel like they can continue, albeit in a different way?
Yes.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, it is the end of an era. I mean, David Lipsey's from Ames has been a staple in that program. And, I mean, he's been through a lot, but to not have him back as a point guard, and I think with Jefferson as well, I mean, Jefferson's been there for a couple of years now. Lipsey, Momcilovic, like, that's a core that we've been used to seeing. It. That is very much, you know, a huge difference. I mean, most of these programs are cycling through players and rosters every year. So the fact that Iowa State's had these guys as long as they have, I mean, think about Lipsey. He's been around since, like, the old Big 12. So, I mean, in many ways, he represents, you know, the new Big 12 era for Iowa State basketball. And, yeah, I mean, Iowa State's not going anywhere. Again, like, T.J. Otzelberger is one of the best at recruiting. He's got a great pipeline in the city of Milwaukee. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, he recruited as an assistant coach at Iowa State from the Milwaukee area. Milan Momcilovic is another Milwaukee area kid. Con Knippel, the Knippel brothers are Milwaukee area kid. Like, there's a ton of Milwaukee area basketball talent, and Otzelberger is plugged into that group. Momcilovic has a brother, I think, that's highly recruited. So, yeah, Iowa State's not going anywhere. T.J. Otzelberger's a great recruiter. He's got great – I mean, he grew up in Milwaukee. That's a big reason for why he's got a great, you know, recruiting lifeblood out there. So they're not going anywhere.
And Christian Wiggins, the kid I spoke about just a moment ago, is from Plymouth, Minnesota. Yusuf Gray Jr. is also part of this class. He's a high 3-star, around the same spot that Keelan Torre was. He's from Milwaukee, and he's ranked as the #1 player in the state of Wisconsin by ESPN and 24/7 Sports. So Otz's Wisconsin pipeline is very much not going anywhere. All right, Iowa State, they get beat by Tennessee. Iowa State out of the NCAA tournament.
Let me ask you this. Here we are, the Final Four. The Houston made the Final Four last year. I believe in 2023, the Big 12 did not have a Final Four team.
Correct, because 23 was when the Final Four was bonkers with Florida Atlantic.
That's right.
San Diego State, UConn, and Miami. Kansas State was in the Elite Eight. They lost to FAU, and one other Big 12 team was in the Elite Eight.
But before that, there was a streak of consecutive Big 12 Final Fours. And going back now, in terms of just the Big 12 Final Four appearances, you've got Texas Tech, Baylor, Kansas, and now Arizona. So 4 different teams.
In Houston.
Thank you, in Houston. I forgot about Houston. So 5 different teams now in the last however many years it's been to make the Final Four.
6.
It's 6, or was it
7.
consecutive? Because Tech, was it 19 that they made it?
Tech made it in 19.
So then, yeah, then it would be consecutive because no tournament in 20.
21 was Baylor, 22 was Kansas, 23 was the wheels off Final Four, then 24 and 25.
So now, yeah, 5 and basically 6 tournaments, different programs.
2024 is the year we're missing, but keep going, sorry.
2023 was the crazy one, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. We're missing a tournament, but I'll get there.
All right, so is it 5 and 7 tournaments or 5 and 6?
5 and 7.
The question is, would you bet on Arizona making it back-to-back Final Fours? Would you bet on another team making it? Would you bet on Houston, Kansas, or Texas Tech?
Or a 6th
or Baylor, or a 6th school.
Like, Iowa State feels like the natural kind of 6th school to be in a Final Four. By the way, the 24 Final Four was UConn, Purdue, Alabama, and NC State.
So it was 2 straight the Big 12 was out of the Final Four.
Yep.
Okay. So 5 different – I'm glad we finally got this fact down right. 5 different Big 12 schools have appeared in the last 7 Final Fours.
That's amazing. No other conference can say that. No other conference can say that.
Yeah.
To have that many different schools. Because, like, UConn's been a staple.
So would you bet on next year's Final Four, including a Big 12 team, and which Big 12 team would you bet on? One of those 5 or somebody new?
No, I would bet on the Big 12 will have a team in the Final Four next year. College basketball has a lot of, number one, NBA talent. All these guys are going to be gone. All the superstars are going to be gone in college basketball for next year. And then number 2, just the data and the history speaks to itself. like the Big 12, the top teams in the Big 12 have been consistently in the Final Four. But to answer your question, who would I bet on for next season to be in the Final Four? Houston takes a little bit of a step back. I'd probably lean Texas Tech right now because Texas Tech, I think, has the resources. Texas Tech has the stability to bring a guy like J.T. Toppin back one more year, to bring maybe a Christian Anderson back one more year, and then just their younger pieces. Jalen Petty will be back next season. He was only a freshman this year. I think Texas Tech, that'd be my pick.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I guess I would take Arizona at this point. You know, certainly they're going to lose some freshmen. They're going to have another good class coming in. It feels like they won't lose all their freshmen, so maybe they'll have some of them back. We'll see. Obviously, I think they're cutting the nets down, so that could mean that Koa Pete, Braden Burries, Karchenkov all go.
Right.
We'll see.
That's a great question for Cory Williams, ESPN college basketball analyst, former Arizona guard, played for the Wildcats from 92 to 96. He's been joining us a lot lately because Arizona's on a roll, and he was part of a Final Four team back in the 90s. We'll talk with Cory after this timeout. We are powered by Modelo here on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios.
Pete out high, one-on-one. Backdoor bounce and a scoop for Del Orso. Reverse layup makes it 22.
Little step and go, big-time delivery.
Haggerty had it taken away. It's a run out the other direction. And a slam the hammer from Karchenkov.
And this is the problem when you play this team.
It made something out of nothing.
Ivan Karchenkov works the baseline.
Oh, man. He's another one of those freshmen. They play 4 freshmen.
It's pretty clear Arizona State defensively trying to pack the lane and dare Arizona to beat him from the outside. But Karchenkov, the freshman, says no.
35 and 33 minutes. Getting back to full health. This is a great time. Karchenkov off the turnover.
What they want to do is just get out quicker from those elbows and blocks to get to a shooter.
Bradley to a cutting Karchenkov. Taken away by Karchenkov. Karchenkov answers. Second half are on a pair of threes from Chase McCarty. Karchenkov will try one and hit it. Well, you give up a three, just go on the other end and get it back. Christinak Jr. really moving his feet to stay in front of Karchenkov. Burries can't get by Flemings. Karchenkov banks home a three. Are you kidding me?
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, your exclusive home for Big 12 coverage here on TuneIn. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling, and we might as well just start introducing Cory Williams as our third host of the program because
this mean for a blue blood program to finally have another coach take a team to a Sweet 16 or to a Final Four? Excuse me.
You know, I spent the whole year trying to explain to people how incredibly difficult it is to be in Arizona, a Duke, a Kansas, a North Carolina, a UConn, where at the beginning of the season, before you even play your first non-conference game, the media and the fan base sets the bar at Final Four.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you people have any concept of how difficult that is? When Arizona was like 33-2, I was like, they're winning like 94% of their games. And people are like, oh, now the tournament starts. This is where we have to prove ourselves. And I'm like, prove it. They just went almost undefeated. They dominated the toughest conference in the country. They won the tournament. And now people are like, yeah, that's cool, but now the real fun starts. And that's the pressure. So when Sean had teams that fell short, when Tommy had teams that fell short, I was always looking at it from two angles. I understand what the fan base wants, but you've got to have an incredible streak of luck, shout out UConn yesterday, to win 6 games in neutral sites. It's not an easy thing to do, no matter how good your team is. So for Arizona, we've had tons of teams that could have gotten this far, and this one broke through. And it really was a relief because nobody deserved it more than Tommy and those kids. And I think our fan base, despite having these extremely lofty goals, I'm just amazed that this team was able to check all the boxes. Great regular season, great non-conference, great league play, won the tournament. Now they're a 1 seed. Then they get to the Final Four. And I'm like, that scene in Gladiator, like, are you not entertained? This team is doing everything that this fan base set out for them to do, which, quite honestly, I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think they could have this great of a season.
So Arizona's down 7 at halftime. The Elite Eight, their first Final Four in 25 years, potentially slipping away. And Tommy Lloyd, he goes to the front of the locker room and he says, guys, the coaching staff and I, we're going to leave. Like, you guys figure this thing out. What did you think of that move by Tommy Lloyd, and what does that say about the leadership on this team?
Well, I think that he's got, I don't know that exactly happened that way. It's great dramatics, but I understand that he's allowed these guys to coach themselves. And this is the other thing, the golden ticket for Arizona's been having a senior point guard. And not just a guy who's been around for a long time, a dominant player with thousands of hours of experience leading some of the best talented freshmen in the country. So that combination of you guys go figure it out, it's really like, hey, Jaden, you know what we need to be doing. You know where guys need to be. You know the effort that needs to take place. And it's a funny thing when kids begin to dream and they're friends and they have a mission and they feel good, and then all of a sudden that dream is 20 minutes away from ending. The kids kind of spring into action. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me some hate mail, but I don't care. It's just how I feel. That game turned on Smith's ankle injury. It really did. He was dealing. He was having a monster game. He was throwing assists. He had 11 points. They had a 7-point lead. He rolls his ankle. He only shoots 4 times for the remainder of the game. He couldn't really defend. I don't think he should have been out there, but he was toughing it out. And nobody's really talking about the fact that this guy only shot 4 times for the rest of the game. And that was the difference. Their offense was completely different without him being a threat. So I don't think they're the type of program that's ever going to make excuses. I don't think I didn't watch any pressers. I don't know that they talked about it. But when he sprained his ankles, 18 minutes to go in the second half, they went from up 7 to down 13, in a matter of minutes. So a misfortunate thing for Purdue. I don't know that a healthy Smith would have made a difference. Maybe Arizona still wins the game. That'll be a great mystery that people can argue about forever. But Arizona definitely stepped up their intensity. I think halftime they knew everything they had worked for was on the line, and they were able to come back and win in convincing fashion against a really good Purdue team.
Yeah, I mean, do you see any similarities between Lute Olson and Tommy Lloyd?
I think they're similar in a way that a lot of coaches are similar. I won't just leave this to Tommy and Lute, but the coach is the chef. You use the ingredients you have. When Lute had 7-footers and Brian Williams and Sean Rooks and Ed Stokes, he used his bigs. Then 2 years later, we go to the Final Four led by 2 guards, Damon Stoudemire and Khalid Reeves. Then he goes back to a national championship with Jason Terry and Mike Bibby and Miles Simon. Good bigs, but guard-orientated. And then, he had great teams with Richard and Channing Frye. And he would use the guys he had, where I think earlier in his career, he had a book, he had a method. It was plug and play, get the kids that go with my system. Then he turned a corner. And I think the teams that have success in the postseason are the coaches who literally take their dog off the leash. It's like, you kids go be what you are. Listen to me during timeouts, but I can't have you scared. I can't have you hesitating. I can't have you wondering what to do. Danny Hurley did not draw up that last play for UConn. That was just instincts, a vibe, guys being aggressive, and your best shooter gives up the ball to the open man. That's something that they've coached and taught, and in that moment, that instinct took over where everybody's thinking he should shoot the ball. He gives it up to a kid who drills a deep jumper, and they end up going to the Final Four. So I think Lute and Tommy are similar in the way that they both use what they have. Tommy is a master at putting players in the best positions to look good. I think Braden Burries is an example of that. If he was forced to play the point all by himself and he was the standout player on a lesser team, he'd be like Acuff probably, but he'd probably be sitting on the couch right now. But because he's in a system and he gets to play off the ball and he knows where his scoring opportunities are, guys like him, Awaka, Koa Pete, they're all household names because they're in a system that uses their strengths. Not to say other coaches don't do that, but I think Tommy takes people that the country's never heard of, because you couldn't spell Mo Crevis 2 years ago. Nobody knew who he was. And now I'm here, the CBS announcer, say he's the best big man in college basketball. Is he really? Is he really? Or is he getting touches and is he in a system where he just can't be stopped? Tommy will go get another Mo Crevis. Tommy got a Henry Vasar, who ended up at North Carolina for $1 million in NIL. Who was recruiting Vasar? Nobody. Tommy was. So he's got an amazing system, whether it's Balo, Pella Larson with the Miami Heat. I mean, he knows how to make kids shine, and the kids trust him. Hey, we don't need you to shoot 15 times. I need you to shoot 8 times, and I need you to shoot these 8 shots. And the next thing you know, they're in the NBA.
And Karchenkov, in terms of international players that were under-recruited, fits that bill?
Absolutely. That's another great one. He's a player who literally, I think, was the winning factor yesterday. Those tough-nosed plays that he made, those twisting layups in the lane, that relieves pressure. Hey, we're going to front the post, we're going to deny the guards, and then all of a sudden, he goes to the lane, you're busy denying the guard, you're busy fronting the post, I'll take this layup. Those shots relieve pressure, and they force an opposing coach to be like, okay, now what are we going to do? Because if we overextend, this kid is going one-on-one. He's got the size and the strength. How many times did he pick himself up off the floor? Like, he was getting fouled all the time. And the thing about Arizona, that foul count, that's body blows. It's like a boxer, just punching you in the ribs and the gut over and over and over. Till the next thing you know, 9 minutes to go in the second half, Arizona's in double bonus. And you got foul trouble with your bigs. And that's how they've been able to, choke teams out with just being physical. And I see a lot of criticism, a lot of people, and a lot of Arkansas fans complaining about the officiating. And I challenge them, go back and watch the game and tell me that your guys weren't holding on for dear life. They weren't reaching and grabbing and hacking, because you don't have old school bigs who hit the weight room. Those are rare these days. And I think you're going to see a lot of coaches follow Michigan, follow Arizona, and go get physical bigs, because I think the officials are tired of the flops. They're tired of the crying and complaining, and you may see a return to what I call, 90s basketball.
Yeah, totally agree. I think we're seeing it as well in real time. Speaking of Michigan, Cory, you were all over the Purdue matchup and broke it down as a part of our preview, and really the way that it kind of played out. So how do you feel about the matchup with Michigan?
You know, I'm in a chat with about 25 alums, and we were just going all morning yesterday. And I won't say the names of some because they're coaching at the moment. But we couldn't come up with much, man. Michigan is they're us. They're Arizona. Arizona's Michigan. Michigan's Arizona. Great guard play, bigs that can finish, defense, rebounding. I mean, they present all the threats that we have. They don't have an Anthony Del Orso, so to speak. We do, and this game is going to hinge on the foul count and what coach is forced to be out there with a lineup maybe a little shorthanded. And can a team make a run if a key player gets in foul trouble? Can a team make a run? Both of those teams are able to make runs and take runs and come back because they both play defense. But I think the only advantage, and we talked and we talked and we talked, and there's a lot of respect, a ton of respect from some of our alums that are college coaches, NBA coaches, players. I think we feel the bench at Arizona is slightly deeper, and that could be a factor that may tip it in Arizona's favor. But man, and I say this with all sincerity as an alum, as an analyst, as a fan, that game's a coin flip. It just is. And I think that's a healthy level of respect for Michigan. I don't think we're going to be able to push them around or vice versa. I think that's going to be your natty. That's the national championship, in my opinion. Saturday, Arizona, Michigan. The winner of that game is going to probably have an easier out on Monday.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Now, I will say I think Arizona's the better version. If these two teams are very similar, I think Arizona's the better version of the two of them. And the one aspect that we talked a little bit about is the turnover rate. Michigan turns the ball over a lot, and Arizona will feast on it. I think Michigan's really good inside. They've got good size, but I don't think they're as good in their guards as Cadeau's good, but I don't think they're as good as in their guards as Arizona is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think you're right. I think if we can get live ball turnovers, easy baskets, every coach will tell you it's a death sentence. If you give up easy baskets, they call them pick sixes, whatever you want to call them, you make those turnovers, those travels, those passes that get picked off, and they get easy runouts. It's so hard to account for those points because you give a team 6, 7, 10 points that way. That's 15% of the total. Like you really got to make sure that doesn't happen. I think you're right. I think if Arizona's guards can dominate and all things are even in the paint, which wouldn't surprise me if they are, Arizona may have a slight advantage.
Yep. Hope it goes that way. Cory Williams, ESPN college basketball analyst, former Arizona guard, joining us again here on Big 12 today. Thanks, Cory. We'll talk soon.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Cory Williams joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Also watching us on Big 12 Studios, it's Arizona and Michigan on one side of the Final Four bracket with Illinois and UConn on the other side. We've got Brian Jeffries, the play-by-play voice of the Arizona Wildcats, coming up here at the top of the hour. But coming up next, more NCAA tournament talk. It is the return of the big man. This is Big 12 Radio exclusively on TuneIn, brought to you by Modelo.
Jaden Bradley guarded by Boogie Fland. Fland is a good defender. Up and over. Chenyelu goes Bradley.
Rest of our fabulous TNT Sports crew here from Tucson, Arizona.
Just vicious. In the non-conference play, he's obviously almost always guaranteed to give you 10 and 10.
Bradley with the block there, went the other way, but they didn't have the ball. That's going to be out of bounds.
David Punch. That tough shot, challenge. Kribas, you talked about it earlier.
Yep.
The effect, even though he doesn't get a block shot, Fran, he clearly changed that one. And back to the other end. Jaden Bradley, chance for 4.
Roy pulls off target from deep, buries the rebound. Karchenkov in transition.
Bradley, look out!
But I think Kingston Clemens is the sole reason as to why.
Machukas threw it right away to Bradley all alone.
Del Orso, 3.
Tough one.
Oh, Karchenkov, what a save.
Nice.
Great look. Del Orso from Bradley.
Remember, it's not just the first shot, it's the offensive rebound. Bradley trying to do it himself. Oh. He does! He hit it!
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio with you each and every weekday, 8A to 11A Eastern, 7 to 10 Central. He's Ari, I'm James. Arizona headed to the Final Four. They take down Purdue 79-64, their first Final Four in 25 years, highlighted by 20 points from freshman Koa Pete. You've got to hear what Tommy Lloyd said after the game. This is immediately following during the celebration.
Yeah, he took the mic from the reporter that was asking him questions. Like he was like WWE wrestler mode of taking the mic. Take a listen.
Personally, I feel good. What I'm most happy for is these Arizona fans. You guys deserve this. Hey. Best coach in the nation. Hey, I know this. I know, hey, there's a good-looking guy with white hair looking down at us right now that's happy.
Loot.
How cool is that?
It's amazing.
Well, and you know, I mean, look, there had almost been like a curse on Arizona basketball, right? They had multiple head coaches, had good runs, but had never been able to crack the code and get back to the Final Four. I mean, first time since 2001. That's a long time for a supposed blue blood. And for Lloyd, I mean, there were those detractors that even now thought, like, oh, Sean Miller was a better coach, got them to the Elite Eight in back-to-back years. Tommy Lloyd had never done that. But this is as good of a team as Lloyd has had. And, you know, if they go on to cut down the nets in Indianapolis and win a national championship, we'll probably look back on this team and say this is one of the best Arizona teams ever. I mean, and maybe one of the best college basketball teams ever. They're loaded. They don't have any strengths in terms of front court or back court. Everything's a strength. But, yeah, I mean, it's got to be a huge relief for a great coach. Tommy Lloyd had basically done everything in the first 5 years of his career at Arizona except for this. And now he has.
I mean, he leads all time, any coach. He has more wins, total wins in his first 5 years than anybody else. And this is just one more step in terms of his legacy, which is still very young.
Yeah.
And he dedicated the Final Four to the coaches before him. This is really cool.
Lute's given me a great life. You know, he and I shook hands only a few times, you know, kind of in a handshake line or something at a game. And I think I was at like a cancer event for him one time. And you know, his legacy in Tucson is so powerful. You know, that he's the guy, you know, there's others before him, but he's the main catalyst to make our program the center of the community. And so when I got the job, I was like, wow, people in Tucson really want to like their basketball coach. And it wasn't a contentious relationship at all. They want to love you. And the reason they want to love you is because they love Lute so much. And he meant so much to the community. But, without Lute, without Sean doing what he did for those 12 years he was here, I wouldn't be able to do what we did today. And I fully understand that. And those guys, this is for them too. And I have no problem, sharing the success of this team with the coaches that came before me.
Yeah, Sean Miller was a really good coach. I mean, he had 5 30-win seasons at Arizona. Tommy Lloyd is just in a long lineage of really successful coaches. He has done now what Sean Miller couldn't do, get to the Final Four. And he's now in the same category, I think, when the fans look at this team as a Lute Olson already, and he's only in year 5.
A former JUCO player who played small college basketball from Kelso, Washington, who spent 18 years on the bench with Mark Few at Gonzaga, waiting for the right opportunity, took it at Arizona, and has now become, the winningest coach over the last 5 years, or at least in the first 5 years of a program as a head coach, the winningest coach, and again, there's so much luck involved in getting this far. We look at Iowa State and Texas Tech, 2 programs that feels like they should have a Final Four, but don't within recent history because of injuries. There's so much luck that plays into this, why teams win and lose. I mean, my goodness, Kelvin Sampson feels like she should have a national championship, but that was taken away, from him at the waning moments of the game against Florida last year. Right? So, luck plays such a crucial factor in all of this, and Lloyd breaks through. I mean, it's an incredible story, and we've gotten to know Tommy Lloyd as a coach over the years and covering him in the Big 12, and he's extremely likable. He's obviously an incredible coach who this was the last thing on his resume that he's now finally ticked off.
And as good as Jaden Bradley was, Anthony Del Orso hit a huge 3. Braden Burries was dynamic. Karchinkov got a lot of his points right at the rim. When you look at the Elite 8 games, and I know Mullins had the game-winning 3 for UConn, but the consistent theme were dominant big men. And it circles back to what we talked about towards the tail end of last week, and Cory Williams brought it up. The big man theory isn't just a theory anymore. UConn got back in that game because they were pounding the paint. Tennessee out-rebounds Iowa State by 19. Joshua Jefferson was sorely missed. Arizona had 40-some points in the paint. And I thought in the first half, the reason Purdue led by 7 was Oscar Clough, their big guy on the inside. And then Arizona just flexed their muscles in the second half. The teams that controlled the paint controlled the outcome in these Elite 8 games. These weren't teams advancing just because they got hot from beyond the arc. Sure, there were made threes in all of these games, but I saw a consistent theme with what Todd Golden talked about, the volatility. And if you could score at the rim and have scoring big men, it eliminates that volatility, like Iowa State had in their game when they shot 22% from 3 and didn't stand a chance against Tennessee. The teams that were scoring at the basket were the teams that were advancing this weekend. And Koa Pete is at the forefront.
Well, and I think, just the physical style, the rebounding style, that is working right now. And it's really ironic in a sense because we just talked about it in football where it's as much as the game changes, sometimes things stay the same. And, as much as there might have been a departure from big physical teams, that we're back to it. I think it's multifaceted, right? So you look at the evolution. So teams decided we're going to be more 3 and layups and dunks, right? That's all we're going to do. Well, as a reaction to that, defensively, teams had to become more interior oriented. Teams had to, all right, if you're going to take threes and play inside, we need to have guys that can protect the rim and block shots in the interior. We cannot allow drivers to get to the rim and then then what we want to do is force teams to have to shoot threes. So I think the reaction to the modern offensive game being very analytically sound was more rim protection, shot blockers, interior strengths, and I think that's the product of what we're seeing right now. It's the reaction to the 3 and layups era of basketball, and teams reacting to that by we need better rim protection, and that's bigs. I don't know that we're a renaissance of back to the basket scoring, right? I mean, even Zach Edey in recent history proved that you can win big by having a legitimate back to the basket post player center. But I don't know that it's a return to that as much as it says rebounding, interior defense are critical to success in this tournament.
I mean, the tallest teams are winning. Michigan, Arizona.
Illinois is the tallest team in college basketball.
A couple of 7'2" centers for Illinois.
Their average size is 6'8". Average. That's ridiculous.
And even their guards are tall.
Yeah.
And then you think back to Florida last year, they had a massive front court. Micah Hand logged in was 7'1". He came off the bench with Chinyelu and Condon and Hawk, all guys that are 6'10". They were top 5 in the country in rebounding percentage. All these teams left Michigan and Arizona are top 5 in rebounding percentage. And I'm watching the Arizona-Purdue game, and I think Cory was right and spot on with when Braden Smith rolled his ankle, it really shifted that game because Braden Smith was Purdue's offense. Like Kaufman-Wren couldn't get any clean looks against Arizona's bigs. Clough played the half of his life in the first half, but that wasn't sustainable. He was going to wear down with that Arizona rotation. So my point is the bigs are winning in this tournament more so than the guards.
Well, a really interesting number too from this season. So 71 teams at the end of the year had offensive rebounds on at least 34% of their field goal attempts. That number was only 27 teams 5 years ago.
Wow.
From 27 to 71 in 5 years. The number of players averaging at least 2 offensive rebounds per game rose from 251 to 315 over that same span. So the offensive rebounding has become much more of an emphasis. And again, if you're going to be the 3 and layup team, you need more interior presence. I think the birth of that is part of this. But offensive rebounding has become hugely critical. I also think there was a point in time where teams didn't care about offensive rebounding because if you send guys to offensive rebound, you're not sending them back on defense. A lot of times teams would take the defense over securing offensive rebounds, and I think more teams now are putting more emphasis on offensive rebounding instead of getting back on defense automatically.
And the 3 in that era, this Steph Curry era, which is kind of coming to a close as his career comes to a close, that's how the mid-majors and the Cinderella stories, that's really – usually you had somebody just going off in the tournament, and that's how they pulled those upsets. But now, I'm watching the Purdue-Arizona game, and it felt like Arizona was scoring on just about every other possession. And I'm thinking, if you're scoring on every other possession, and there's 80 possessions in a basketball game, and then you factor in free throws, which if you're shooting threes, you're not getting to the foul line. If you're pounding the ball inside, you're more likely to get fouled, to shoot free throws when the clock is stopped. I could see why Michigan and Arizona are scoring 90, 95, 100 points per game, doing it in the interior.
Well, and to kind of further the point about the 3 and dunks, 3 and layups era, the other change that happened that I think is also substantial here is the block charge change, which has basically given verticality a advantage. So again, you recruit towards tallness, verticality. You're more likely to not get called for a block because your guy's going straight up to contest shots at the rim. I think another one of those points that sort of emphasized the importance of having size.
Yeah, that's a great point. Brian Jeffries, the play-by-play voice of the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona's in their first Final Four in nearly 30 years. He'll join us coming up after the break. Brian Jeffries around the corner, the play-by-play voice of the Arizona Wildcats. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio brought to you by Modelo.
Hudgens knocks down that pass. TCU able to recollect. And the 3 is up and good. Marta Suarez, 6'3".
Here's Sheffy, and now here bucket side right. It's going to be Donovan Hunter. Just over 2 seconds remaining. As here's Suarez. Can she beat the clock? Yes, she can.
They really do, and she's worked really hard on her extending her range. When Coach Mitchell talked to us, he was saying that she's in the gym early and late, just really trying to get that 3 down.
Speaking of getting the 3 down, Brianna Peguero starts out the second half going 1 of 2 at the line. Suarez takes a 25-foot 3 and ring it up. Marta Suarez
And with that press, TCU, they're not trying to go for steals. They're not getting out in passing lanes and trapping, but they're just trying to get time off the clock.
Marta Suarez.
I'm going to say the over of 20-plus turnovers per team in that game.
Suarez leading the team in threes. Made and attempted and knocks one down.
Just over 5 minutes to go. Baylor's got to start putting together some consecutive scores here and cut into this deficit. It doesn't happen with a turnover.
Scott turns it over. Numbers the other way for Suarez. The three. Another three for TCU.
Switch on the dribble handoff.
Kicked out to Suarez. Pass fake. Launches the three and hits. Marta Suarez into double figures with 11. Miles committed the first turnover of the second half for TCU. After Suarez hits the three, TCU is now 9 of 11.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo, exclusively on TuneIn. With Ari Timken, I'm James Westlane. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. We welcome in the radio play-by-play voice of the Arizona Wildcats, Brian Jeffries. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Man, we're good. Fired up for some Arizona basketball. What did you feel like was the biggest play or the stretch or the turning point in that Purdue Elite Eight game?
You know, for me, the turning point was Anthony Delorso's three-pointer, the only basket he made in that game that gave Arizona a 6-point lead. Purdue had controlled a lot of that ball game. Arizona down by 7 at halftime. You get into the second half, and the Wildcats, they got close at that point and got the lead. I think that was important. But when Del Orso hit that three-pointer, it ignited the crowd. That was one thing. And it was a pro-Arizona crowd in San Jose. And it just seemed to send a message. And I could just see the body language of the Arizona players and the Purdue players as well. Because, like I said, Purdue had kind of controlled that game through most of it. And now all of a sudden, Arizona gets up by 6. And that kind of started the roll at that point. And the Wildcats kept building their lead and went on to the win. So it's amazing how, you've got great games by, Jaden Bradley and Koa Pete, but the one three-pointer by Del Orso to me kind of got the game going.
Brian, how big of a deal is this for Arizona fans? I mean, it had been so long, for a program that has multiple Final Fours and a national championship, to not get to a Final Four in 25 years and it all being tied to Lute Olson. I mean, how big of a deal is this?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's huge for the program and for the community. And I look at it maybe a little bit differently than other people. I look at the sustained success that the program has had.
Yeah.
When Lute Olson got to Arizona back in the mid '80s, they'd had a couple flashes as a member of the WAC before that. Then they moved into the Pac-10 and then the Pac-12. But when Lute got things rolling there, and that kind of started, and ever since then, really since I'll just say 1985. This program, with very few exceptions, has been in the tournament every year. They've challenged for conference championships. They've moved, up and down in the NCAA tournament. And so I just look at that. I say, boy, would you trade, would you trade another championship for this kind of success over the years? And so, getting there, I think it's more for, maybe wallpaper right now because.
Yeah.
The talk, the narrative was, hey, Arizona hasn't been able to get back in 25 years, and they keep getting stuck at the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, and so I'm happy for the community and for Tommy Lloyd. It's only taken him 5 years to get back, and it says a lot about his coaching and his staff and how he's been able to construct this roster.
We were talking last segment about the return of the big man in college basketball. I mean, you look across the tournament, the season, teams that are scoring points in the paint, teams that are dominating the glass, are the teams that are winning, and that fits the bill at Arizona.
Yeah, Mo Krivas has been a huge part of the team, but one of the major improvements on the team. You go back to a couple years ago when he was a freshman and played kind of part-time role. And you knew that he had some skills, but he had a long ways to go. And then last year, Tommy had kind of designed his offense, this inside offense around him. And then 8 games into the season, Krivas got hurt, broke his foot, and he was out for the rest of the year. And they had to kind of, change what they were going to do. They got to the Sweet 16, and so you call that certainly a success. But then Krivas over the summer really worked hard. He's improved his footwork tremendously, and he understands now his size. Anytime you're 7 footer, sometimes I think you forget what you can do. And so he has been kind of quietly, because the other guys have gotten all the, the headlines, and Braden Burries and Koa Pete and Jane Bradley, etc. But Krivas has been obviously the key to that inside game. And because he's learned how to play within himself, he understands what he's, supposed to do. He's also become a great rim protector. That was something that we didn't see from him the first couple of years. And now I think he's blocked over 60 shots on the season now. So that has been a major growth in his game, and it's really helped Arizona, because teams that try and go inside and you kind of run into they call him Mount Mo, it's difficult to get around it.
So what when you look ahead to this Michigan matchup, what do you think stands out to you about it?
Well, it's the front line for both teams. I mean, to me, that's absolutely it. I mean, take nothing away from the backcourts. I mean, these have been two of the best teams in college basketball throughout the season, and now with Duke out of the tournament, you could make the argument they are the 2 best teams throughout the course of the season. And so, just watching Michigan on TV, I could see their front line, and I know what Arizona's front line can do. And so, which one's going to win that battle inside? I think that's going to be huge. And then, obviously you'll guard play, and you guys have probably heard this over the years, that guard play usually wins in the NCAA tournament. I don't know how true that is, but I keep hearing that saying a lot. And I'm going to be biased here, but I think Arizona's backcourt is probably as good as you can find, with Burries and Jaden Bradley, and then Del Orso coming off the bench. I mean, they're very cohesive. And so, how do they match up against Michigan? How does Michigan match up against Arizona in the backcourt? Because if the front court is kind of a wash between the two teams, then are the guards going to be able to win this game? I think that's going to be part of the interesting aspects we're going to look at.
Yeah, is that the biggest advantage that you see for Arizona? I mean, Michigan does turn the ball over 12 times per game. They're 254th in the country in turnover rate.
Yeah, but they also score a bunch of points, and I think that's the problem, is that that's how you can get away with turning the ball over a lot, is you're still going to get something back at the other end. And so, Arizona's a 2-point team. You know the story. They don't shoot a lot of threes. They don't make a lot of threes. And that's one of the things throughout the season I've heard from people saying, well, Arizona can't win the championship because they don't, shoot enough threes. And, well, they've proven so far that they don't have to. And so can they take advantage of the Michigan mistakes? But I think, Arizona's defense has got to play a big part of it, because when you're scoring 90-plus points a game like, the Wolverines have done here in the tournament, then man, you've got to figure out a way. I don't care how many times they turn the ball over. You've got to figure out a way to try and stop them.
Yeah, we're talking with the play-by-play voice of the Arizona Wildcats, Brian Jeffries, here after Arizona clinches its first Final Four since 2001. One of the interesting things about this Final Four is, it's been a long time, obviously, since a team from the West has won. No team west of Texas has won a national title in college basketball since Arizona did it in '97. But then how about the Big Ten has not had a national champion since 2000. So some really interesting histrionics here involved in this Final Four, Brian.
Yeah, you wonder about the history of the programs and how much that has to do with the Final Four. And so you've got 4 outstanding programs, and you mentioned, okay, Big Ten's been in a drought, the West, and you could say Arizona's been in a drought. So UConn's the one team, the one program that has, had the most recent success. I don't know about, if that has any effect on the current teams. I know the Arizona players, because we talked about this a lot the last couple of weeks, because it's been a while since they've advanced, obviously, to this point, and even, Sweet 16, Elite 8, the whole Elite 8 thing, trying to get over that. And if you talk to the Arizona players, they don't have any background. There's no history. Those guys weren't even born when a lot of this occurred. A lot of the history occurred because Arizona's such a young team. And so I don't know if that really has any effect. I'm just looking at this from an Arizona perspective, that the players, that stuff means nothing to them. They just keep playing. And Tommy, it's the old one game at a time cliche, but Tommy calls it stay steady. And that's been his mantra throughout the season. That's the way he coaches. That's the way he's, made his team operate this year. And they followed suit. They have stayed steady. And, they lost 2 games. And, and if Koa Pete had been healthy in those 2 games, who knows, what would have happened. So every time you think that maybe they met their match, they figure out a way. And this will be the ultimate one now against Michigan on Saturday.
Were those 2 losses, did Koa Pete play in either of those games?
Well, he was not healthy in the Kansas game. Now, we didn't know that at the time, and I don't think that he didn't make it known that he was having a leg problem, because all you have to do is look at the stat sheet. I think he had 6 points in that Kansas game, and that was at Fog Allen. And Kansas, didn't have Darren Peterson. They deserved to win the game. There's no doubt about it. And then the Wildcats came home and, lost at Texas Tech at home. And again, that's when J.T. Toppin was on that team, which was outstanding. But that was the one stretch there. Pete was out for 3.5 games. It was the second half of Texas Tech that he missed. And then Dwayne Aristode, who's one of their men out of the 8-man rotation, missed 4 games due to an illness. And so that was their one stretch this year when they were not a healthy team. And it cost them a couple of games. But they also lost to 2 really good basketball teams that simply played better on those particular nights.
Brian, I mean, obviously there's still 2 more wins for this team from a history perspective in order to be considered one of the best of all time at Arizona. But just in terms of the team dynamic, the depth, is this as good of a team as Arizona's ever had?
Probably, yeah. I mean, just talent-wise, I'm probably not the guy that can assess talent all that well. But I will tell you this, just over the years, raw talent, best team obviously that Tommy Lloyd has had just in that era. I think that when the season started and you had 4 freshmen in your 8-man rotation, you kind of thought, okay, how long is it going to take for these guys? And it didn't take very long.
Yeah, great point.
For it to set in. You go back to the 2001 team, And if you want to judge it on the number of guys that went on to the NBA, you can say 2001 was very talented. The 1997 team, was not one of Lute Olson's necessarily his best teams, but he had two great guards in Miles Simon and Mike Bibby, and those guys kind of carried it there. And Arizona had not to give you too much history here, but that 97 team, didn't win the Pac-10. There was no Pac-10 tournament at that time. They finished the season with a couple of losses, and they were down to South Alabama by double figures late in the second half in their first round game and rallied to win that. And then, as you say, the rest is history. So sometimes you just got to get hot at the right time, and that's what the 97 team did. But, the 01 team and now this team, I guess in most people's eyes, are the two most talented that Arizona's had.
We're talking with Brian Jeffries. He's the radio play-by-play voice of the Arizona Wildcats, joining us here on your official home for the Big 12 Radio. Brian, can you give us a detailed breakdown of all your Arizona swag? What is that chart behind your left shoulder? You've got jerseys back there behind you. I want the history lesson on that.
Well, the ones that have 20 on them is when the school celebrated my 20th anniversary doing play-by-play.
Awesome.
And so I've got one from each. There's a basketball, a football, and the baseball is in my son's room down the hall because I didn't have any more space in here. So that's it. The rest of it is probably just a lot of junk. I've got, your studio here and just another. I think that is a Final Four banner from '97. That's Heidi. Yeah, that's the '97 championship banner. So it's kind of a, anybody's that got kids, you don't have much room for anything because they take up all your space. So it's all crowded in here.
The Final Four banner. That's amazing. How'd you get your hands on that?
Oh, it's not anything real special, I don't think. I mean, you could probably have bought one. I just remember I got it when we got back after the championship. And
Did you think that was the actual Final Four banner?
I thought maybe they had several. I thought maybe they had several, and they gave one to Brian.
No, I don't think so. I've got a chair, a bench chair
nice.
from '97. Those are the two biggest things. I got some other stuff on the wall here that's behind you guys that you keep all that. Like I said, after I messed up in '88 and didn't buy anything, now I buy everything. I've already been telling everybody, put in your orders right now when I get to Indianapolis so I can ship it back to you.
All right, Brian, what does your gut say about the rest of the way for Arizona?
Well, I think Saturday's game against Michigan is potentially the game of the year in college basketball, and you don't know how they're going to work out. You just don't. I mean, look at just what happened this weekend. The UConn Duke game. I mean, that was just crazy. I'm watching that thinking, okay, well, Duke's on their way. Didn't surprise me at all. They're up by 19. And then that second half, and I'm not paying real close attention. It's kind of sitting on the couch there, and UConn's getting closer and closer, and then you guys know the ending. But, you just don't know how things are going to pan out. One key for Arizona, and it has been all season long, they get to the free throw line, and they get to the free throw line a lot, over 30 times now here in the tournament. And so that's one of their keys, is that they, because of their inside strength, get the ball inside, draw fouls, get to the line, make their free throws. So if they can do that, you mentioned the Michigan turnovers. Arizona, since the beginning of conference play, so that's 20 some odd games now, is averaging less than 10 turnovers a game. So I'll go to Tommy Lloyd's, every game, don't turn the ball over and rebound. And so those are two other strengths Arizona's had here down the stretch. And so if they can do those, if they can get to the free throw line, if they can out-rebound Michigan, if they can take care of the ball, and then somewhere in there, of course, you got to make shots. Certainly they've got a chance to win, but so does Michigan. I mean, I just think the teams aren't identical, but I think they're, if you just look at them record-wise and what they've been able to do and how they've been able to handle themselves, this just has the makings of a massive game in terms of obviously importance for getting to the championship, but just the competitiveness and the coaching for the two sides. So I'm really looking forward to it. I don't want to take anything away from Illinois and UConn because that one could be just as good, if not better. You just never know until you get there.
Yeah. You're right.
Well said. This one could be an instant classic. Brian Jeffries, radio play-by-play voice of Arizona. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate your time and insight.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Brian Jeffries joining us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. Heard exclusively on TuneIn. You can catch Brian as the play-by-play voice of the Arizona Wildcats across the Arizona radio network for the Final Four, Arizona and Michigan. All right, coming up next, Fran Frischilla, ESPN college basketball analyst, will jump on the program. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn and on Big 12 Studios.
Don't forget, BYU Villanova. We'll get our first look at A.J. DeBonsa as Koa Pete on the receiving end.
Execution on that possession from Florida.
Xavier Lee hits his second three of the night. Oh! Koa Pete from the rafters!
What a pass and delivery against Condon.
Here comes Bradley. Bradley gives it to Pete. Pete, look out below! One highlight after another! Mr. Arizona has arrived at the collegiate level.
Utah steal, then they throw it right back to the Wildcats. NASCAR tempo, a lob, and Pete brings the house down.
Senior out of Rickards High School, Tallahassee, that venerable program. Pete the screen for Karchenkov, and they'll play it together for two and a foul. Rebound pawed down by Krivas. On the hit ahead, Pete. Duck.
Woo-hoo! How about the outlet pass? Here's the end of the play.
Johnson will. Yeah, he will. And he hit the backboard.
Numbers here.
Burries. Flanked by Pete and a hammer.
Bringing it all. The chandeliers as well. They can be explosive.
And look at his work on Mo Krivas down low.
The lob. Oh, watch out. High above the rim. Bradley trying to find one of his bigs. He gets it to Pete. Pete off balance. Fires. Oh, what a shot.
Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo, and you're watching us simulcast on Big 12 Studios. Tonight on the channel, you don't want to miss King and the Coach. King McClure and the coach, Fran Frischilla, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, right here on Big 12 Radio. And we welcome in the coach now, Fran Frischilla from ESPN, joining us here on Big 12 Radio. Good morning, Fran.
Good morning, James. Good morning, Ari. Great to be with you on the aftermath of amazing weekend. And now we head to the Final Four in Indianapolis.
Aftermath, that is well said. How did Arizona hold Purdue to their second worst offensive showing of the year?
I love the story I heard. It's so Tommy Lloyd. He's got a veteran team. He walks into the locker room at halftime and said, "Hey, fellas, you guys talk about it and figure it out. It's not about me and the coaches right now." And they really responded. I was with some of the CBS people at our game in the South Regional where I work for Westwood One. I was actually sitting with my good friend Robbie Hummel, who was obviously pulling for Purdue, but that was an onslaught to start the second half by an Arizona team that we've seen all year play great basketball. And kudos to Purdue. The first half they kind of controlled the tempo, but then the experience and talent and size kicked in for the Wildcats, and Tommy Lloyd just pushed the exact right button. And that veteran team, the veterans, particularly Del Orso, Tobe Awaka, got their teammates to answer the challenge.
Yeah, well said. A lot I want to ask you about Arizona, but I've got to ask you first about UConn Duke. What an unbelievable game, an unbelievable finish.
Yep.
And, I mean, John Shire, he can recruit, certainly, and he's got really good teams, but, I mean, how much of that do you put on Shire, and how much of that do you put just on UConn making plays down the stretch?
Well, first of all, Ari, I mean this, John Shire has done as good a job replacing a legend as anybody could.
Yeah, for sure.
Which
is not easy.
Not easy, and I'm telling you, they're well coached. That play, that turnover by Cam Boozer, I hate to put it this way because you don't want to throw the player under the bus, but that pass and that press offense has been made thousands of times. You just got to, ball fake the guy and throw it around him. Now, could he have held on to it and got fouled? Sure, but that ball was popping out of the traps. And all he has to do is make the last pass, either over or around the defender. And it just so happened he threw a little bit of a helium ball that, I don't know who it was, Caravan or somebody got a deflection. Honestly, that was just good press offense until he threw the ball away. Had he made the pass, which again, we practice every day, fake high, go low, fake low, go high. If he makes that pass, it's game over. And we're talking about Duke in the Final Four. It was just a great defensive play by UConn. And then, of course, a shot for the ages. I'm old enough to remember, Villanova, Georgetown, Christian Laettner 31 years ago, I think it was. I'm not sure. Maybe it was a little longer. 35 years ago. Who knows now? But this is why we call it March Madness. Braylon Mullins, like Bill Buckner is going to be remembered forever for the ground ball going through his legs. That's sports. Guys who make these kind of incredible plays will be talked about for the next 50 years. That kid's probably 19 years old, Braylon Mullins, and no matter what happens in his NBA career, when he's 75 years old, he's going to be talking to his grandkids about the shot he made. That's why we love March Madness so much.
Yeah, that's really well said. In terms of the four teams left, which is, and their path, which is the most surprising to you, and then who's been the most impressive?
Well, it's a good question because I think I would say UConn because they beat Duke, although I kind of had them beating Duke. The most impressive was obviously Michigan, just annihilating Tennessee. I thought Tennessee was a good team, not a great team. They beat an Iowa State team that obviously was without an All-American in Joshua Jefferson. Arizona did what Arizona has done all year. Michigan has done what they've done all year. And Illinois, when I saw them in person, I thought they were the equal of those two teams. I thought it was UConn that was, stumbling along, losing to St. John's a couple times, 3 times, I believe. And so I think they're the most surprising, even though I'm not surprised they got there because of the will of Danny Hurley and his team.
Yeah, well said. Okay, in terms of the size piece, Fran, we've been talking a lot about that today in terms of the size of these teams. Illinois is the tallest team in college basketball, and and Michigan and Arizona are both very good interior teams. What's changed, or what maybe has stayed the same about size and the importance of it in college basketball?
Well, it's been utilized extremely well this year by Florida, by the teams that are left in this tournament. It's really, I'm old enough to know, Ari, that the game is cyclical. Nothing's been invented in 75 years. 5-out offense with 4 guards, that comes into vogue. And then, then all of a sudden we've got all these tall teams. Really, like, necessity's the mother of invention. And teams went to play small because there just weren't a lot of big guys out there in recent years. And now you look at these teams and you see the great size. Now, it's interesting. Let's look at this for a second. Florida has Chinalu from Africa. Arizona's got Krivas, 7'2" from Lithuania. We know about all of Illinois' size. That's basically from the Balkans, former Yugoslavia. And there was a time about 5-6 years ago. I remember, I'll never forget this because I was talking to Robbie Hummel about this. Of the 30 NBA teams, 15 of the starting centers out of the 30 were born outside the United States. So you have a little bit of that here, but you also have coaches who love size and love playing from inside out. And that's probably changed over the last couple of years because we had that revolution of 3-point shooting and 4- and 5-out offenses. So it always goes in cycles.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing you brought up is the non-American born players. Fran, we know, you've been for years the ESPN draft expert from international prospects.
Yeah.
Illinois and Arizona in particular, 2 of the best at recruiting internationally. But also, as I survey the NBA right now, Shea is Canadian. Jokic, obviously not American. Doncic, not American.
Giannis.
Wemby, Giannis.
Yep.
So, do we have more Darren Peterson prospects? Is that the issue here?
Well, I think what's happened is, let's go recently. In college, you got NIL now has opened up the floodgates for international kids. There are guys on that Illinois team, honestly, that will never, ever in their careers make as much money as they're making right now. Honestly. And that's not a criticism. When they go back to Europe, a couple of those guys could find themselves on NBA rosters of the Balkan kids, I'm saying.
Right.
But assuming that all of them go back and play at a high level in Europe, some of those guys will be lucky to make $1 million at any time in their career. And now in college, because there's no salary cap and because we are the Wild West at the moment, their agent, who I know well, he would never, ever have sent kids to college 5 years ago. In fact, he stuck his nose up at college basketball. Now he's got, 4 or 5 kids on that team that are making a lot of money. I bet Mirkovic made $30,000 last year as a 19-year-old playing in Montenegro.
Wow.
Think about that, 30. You could make that much money at Manhattan College, and they don't even have a good NIL. and that's my point. There's just a new world order here, and that's why you're seeing so many international kids come to the States for the first time.
And I think I just saw the other day that, the top point guard in Britain is going to play college basketball.
It's absurd, James. It's absurd. He's 23 years old. He shouldn't be allowed to play. Seriously. Yeah, he's 20. Quinn.
23.
I can't think.
Wow.
Yeah, he's 23. Because he's never played in college, he's going to apparently be eligible. He won't have all 4 years. He might have 2 years. That's a dirty little secret. Some of these guys who are listed as freshmen, if they're older than 21 or 22, they don't have 4 years of eligibility. But you wouldn't know that because they're listed on rosters as freshmen, and then they only play a couple of years and they go back to Europe, or maybe if they're good enough to play in the NBA. But yeah, that's the absurdity of what we have right now. No problem with a 19-year-old kid coming from Montenegro or Croatia. That's cool to me. But guys who play in the G League or play at a high level in Europe, and then come over at 22, 23, 24. I'm not feeling that really, and I hope something's eventually done about that.
Yeah, Quinn Ellis is who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. And so are there any rules in place or guidelines to prevent that? Like what if this kid was 27, but he's never played in college? Can he come over and play?
The NCAA guys have told me that the older you are, the more likely you are to lose eligibility year by year. I don't know of any 27-year-old who's just said, screw it, I'm going to college. I've been playing in Belgium for 9 years.
Right.
Like the two kids at Virginia, good for them, man. But they're, one of those guys is, I can't remember if it's Grunlow or DeRitter, but those guys they're pros, And listen, we have no real organized rules right now.
Right.
That's what we have. We have to get back to that somehow. I'm not being a nervous Nelly about it. I just think we should have some amateurism. Some.
Yeah.
I
think reasonable people.
It's fine with me. Yeah.
Reasonable people can agree on this.
Yeah.
Totally agree there. Fran, do you have any good Tommy Lloyd stories? I mean, Lloyd, what an incredible start to his career at Arizona, and obviously we know these programs inside and out because you spend the offseason following them, and you're always at practice and stuff. So give us some good Tommy Lloyd stories.
Well, first of all, as you guys know, Tommy Lloyd, when he got to Gonzaga and was a full-time coach, Mark Few said you need a recruiting niche. You got whether it's Southern California or junior colleges or whatever. And Tommy decided that he was going to find international guys, and so Tommy Lloyd is really the first guy.
Wow.
To really delve into the international market of the college guys. And that's where we got to be really friendly. I've known him and Coach Few for 25 years, but Tommy was the guy that got, Sabonis and Roni Turioff and Elias Harris from Germany and so many international kids to go to, to go to Gonzaga. And then when he got to Arizona, the pipeline continues, And Krivas is the latest example of that. But one interesting Tommy Lloyd story this year is probably when they were like 17-0, and we were talking, and I remember he said this to me a couple times along the journey. We're not going undefeated. Like I told my team, we're not going undefeated. And someone would say, well, why do you put that negative thought into your players' heads? They didn't say that, but some people would think that. And I was like, this is really smart, because the more they kept winning, the more pressure would have been on them going into the tournament.
Right.
And so when they did lose those two games, I think in February, at Kansas and Texas Tech at home, it gave them a chance to recalibrate a little bit. Like, okay, I told you we weren't going undefeated. Now let's fix a couple things. And, they're not the perfect team, but they sure are close to it because they have all the ingredients of a team that should win a national championship. Now, having said that, Ari, I kind of think the national championship game is Saturday night. It's almost like Duke UNLV back in whatever that was, 91. Yeah. But because then I think who was it? Duke then had to beat Kansas on that Monday night, but they just took down the Goliath, undefeated UNLV. I feel a little bit about that on Saturday, that the two best teams might be playing on Saturday night, but four great teams, and I'm not going to disparage the other two teams who are truly great in their own right in Illinois and UConn.
What's the number one thing, Fran, that decides the outcome of Michigan and Arizona?
The number one thing in which way, James?
Whoever wins the game. Like, is it rebounding? Is it turnovers? Who makes more threes? What's the one area where you see this game being decided?
I would say that the number one area is keeping Michigan out of transition. They have great size. Arizona can counter it. Arizona runs also. So I would say, if you just want something like rudimentary, I'd say fast break points, points off turnovers, because, when you play great teams, live ball turnovers are a killer. That's why they're great teams. They take advantage. You guys have heard the term kill shots.
Oh, yes.
Miyakawa, right? 10-0 runs. So I think they all combine together. Points off turnovers, fast break points, kill shots. If somebody has a 10-0 run in this game, there's probably a 75% chance that they're going to win the game.
Good stuff. All right, Fran, we'll catch you tonight on King and the Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, we'll talk to you guys maybe next week after it's all said and done.
Take care, Fran. You're the best, buddy.
Got it. See you guys.
Fran Frischilla, ESPN college basketball analyst. You can catch King and the Coach tonight at 6 Eastern, 5 o'clock Central Time right here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn with King McClure and the coach, Fran Frischilla. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. We are brought to you by Modelo, and we wrap it up after this. He's Ari, I'm James, and you're locked in to Big 12 today.
Pete out high, one-on-one. Backdoor bounce and a scoop for Del Orso. Reverse layup makes it 22.
Little step and go, big time delivery.
Haggerty had it taken away. It's a run out the other direction. And a slam the hammer from Karchenkov.
Now this is the problem when you play this team.
It made something out of nothing.
Ivan Karchenkov works the baseline.
Oh, man. He's another one of those freshmen. They play 4 freshmen.
It's pretty clear Arizona State defensively trying to pack the lane and dare Arizona to beat him from the outside. But Karchenkov, the freshman, says no.
35 and 33 minutes. Getting back to full health.
This is a great time.
Karchenkov off the turnover.
What they want to do is just get out quicker from those elbows and blocks to get to a shooter. Bradley to a cutting Karchenkov. Taken away by Karchenkov. Karchenkov answers. Second half are on a pair of threes from Chase McCarty. Karchenkov will try one and hit it. Well, you give up a three, just go on the other end and get it back. Chris Sinek Jr. really moving his feet to stay in front of Karchenkov. Burries can't get by Flemings. Karchenkov banks home a three. Are you kidding me?
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn. Watching us on Big 12 Studios. Kicking off the work week with you on a Monday edition. We've had a great lineup of guests today with Fran Frischilla. Joined us just moments ago. Catch King and the Coach. That's King McClure and Fran Frischilla tonight at 5 o'clock Central, 6 Eastern, right here on Big 12 Radio. We had Brian Jeffries, the play-by-play voice of Arizona. Cory Williams, former Arizona player, was on that Final Four team back in the mid-'90s. And then we had Nick Giramonte, the college basketball writer for TCU via Sports Illustrated, to preview TCU women's basketball massive game tonight. They try and take down South Carolina. It's at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on ESPN. South Carolina, the 1 seed, they're 34-3. TCU, the 3 seed, at 32-5.
Yeah, and this is the same spot that TCU was in last year. You know, it doesn't matter if this year's team is better than last year's team. They don't have to be better than last year's team. They've just got to be better than South Carolina tonight. But that's a really tough task because South Carolina is just drubbing people, and the top 4 seeds in the NCAA tournament on the women's side are really, really, really good. So it's really difficult to think that anybody's going to knock off any of those 1 seeds en route to a Final Four. But, look, TCU could certainly do it. I think TCU has been as good of a team as there is in college basketball. They've got as good of a player as there is in college basketball in Olivia Miles. So, you know, we'll see. And then on the women's NIT side, or the WBIT.
Not WNIT?
Correct. The WBIT, the Women's Basketball Invitational. Kansas and BYU are playing in one Final Four matchup tonight.
Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament.
Yes.
KU and BYU in the semifinals.
So 3 women's basketball teams in the Big 12 are playing tonight.
How do you feel about the season that Kansas has had? Because they missed the NCAA tournament. That's a letdown. But I do think there's something about getting to the NIT semifinals that says you've had a pretty nice year.
We'll just have to agree to
disagree. You're just
on that.
smiling at me like I'm an idiot.
No, I mean,
Which is okay.
That's not exactly the case here. Yeah.
It feels different for BYU because BYU hasn't been a team that's, you know, they're
right.
Newish to the conference. They've been gradually getting better.
I mean,
so I see your stance.
Yeah, this Kansas team, regardless of the outcome of the NIT, has underperformed. And I mean, when you think about the last 2 recruiting classes, the 2 studs they've had, you know, you've got a freshman of the year. They should have been playing in the NCAA tournament. So that's my feeling on it.
Yeah.
But good for them. I'm glad they're still playing.
Can TCU hang with South Carolina? South Carolina has a guard who was part of the same recruiting class as Olivia Miles. They're both from 2021, and they both missed an entire year with a torn ACL, maybe even the same year, and they've both had incredible comeback stories. It's going to be a phenomenal matchup, but South Carolina is just massive. Like, they're 6'3", 6'4", 6'4". They can all score. It's a tough out.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina is 33-3. They just completely routed Oklahoma. And, yeah, I mean, Joyce Edwards, that's who you're referring to in terms of being a generational talent at guard. 23 points and has 21 games of 20 or more points this season, tying Asia Wilson for the most by a South Carolina player this century. She's averaging 19.9 points per game. It's nearly 4 points better than Wilson as a sophomore. So Joyce Edwards is about as good as it gets. She's going to be very difficult for TCU to corral tonight. The other thing I wanted to mention is congratulations to the former Kansas golfer, former Washburn Ichabod, Gary Woodland, who had his first win on the PGA Tour since winning the U.S. Open, I believe in 2019. Since then, Woodland had a brain tumor that was in part of his brain that handled with emotion, anxiety, and so he's really been dealing with some PTSD post having surgery, and has really that's really impacted his golf career. He won the Houston Open with a -21. He won it by 6 strokes. Just an incredible story here about a former Big 12 golfer who, you know, I'm not sure it ever looked like he'd get back to winning any PGA Tour events. And he does it, you know, just a couple of weeks before the Masters.
And he's from?
Topeka, Kansas.
Topeka, Kansas.
You and Gary are basically the same person.
Pretty much. He went to my rival high school. He went to Shawnee Heights. I went to Washburn Rural. And then he went on to play, like you said, basketball at Washburn and was actually really good. And so a lot of people were confused. Why is he not playing basketball?
Is it true that he ended your high school basketball career?
We'll get there in a minute.
Rumors have it.
I mean, it's the word on the street. But back then, guys didn't just transfer like that. So
Right.
it's like, why does he just stop quitting basketball? Well, it's because he's a phenomenal golfer, and he goes to KU, and the rest is history. But, yeah, Gary Woodland was a really good high school basketball player, and he was a point guard. You know, he's not super tall. He's like 6 foot. And we were playing his school, and he was 2 or 3 years older than me. I think I was a sophomore when he was a senior, and they're up by like 25, 30. They're just crushing us. So my coach puts me in the game. Again, I'm just a sophomore. Okay, I wasn't starting varsity as a sophomore or as a senior, but as a sophomore, I get in, and Gary's still in the game. And I'm like, well, I don't want to guard him. Like, what's he doing still on the floor? They're up by 30. 1 possession. He was on the floor for 1 possession, and I had to guard him. And he's bringing the ball up the floor, and I was terrified.
Did you do a floor slap? Like, let's go.
No, I did like real nervous feet. Nervous feet, rigid body, stiff arms. He comes up the floor, and he crosses me over and pulls up from 15. Like, MJ, he was MJ. I was Byron Russell, 98. I mean, just I'm on the floor.
Or more like he's MJ and you're James Westling.
That.
Yeah,
more that. I mean, he crosses me over, drills a 15-footer, and then he checked out of the game. That's my Gary Woodland moment.
So he was in there just long enough to embarrass the bleep out of you.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a core memory, actually, from my high school playing days.
No, I mean, of course.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
That's one. The other is when Keith Wooden, who went on to play at Arizona State, I got in the game. Again, his team's up by like 30. He's like a 6'8", 6'9" post player. And I'm supposed to be the quicker guy because I'm the guard, and I am so tired, and he's just flying by me on a fast break. I've never felt slower than that moment right there.
Yeah, I mean,
it felt like my sneakers weighed 100 pounds.
By the way, Woodland was shot 64, 63, 65. He took a 1-stroke lead into the final round, and then set a tournament record, 259 total with 21 under. So a ridiculous final round at the Houston Open.
Will just showed me a very depressing stat.
Well, so it says Woodland's career numbers, age 41, close to James's age, which we know because James said he went to the rival high school of him.
Yeah.
His career earnings, $38.36 million.
Yeah, he's made $38 million over the course of his career.
Actually, a lot less than I would have thought.
Less? $38 million?
Won the U.S. Open, James.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good run.
Yeah, 5 PGA Tour wins. Does that include the U.S. Open Championship? He's about to win the Masters. You're about to see the biggest Gary Woodland fan on the planet.
Man.
But I mean, it's a pretty incredible story to think about the fact that in August of 2023, he announced he had a brain tumor. He underwent surgery to remove part of the tumor in September of 23, returned to PGA Tour action in January of 24 at the Sony Open. Did step away briefly, but then dealt with PTSD.
And you said the actual brain tumor impacted, like, the emotional, the anxiety, emotional regulation part of his brain?
Yes.
That's wild.
Wild.
So he joined the tour back in 2009.
Where were you in 2009?
Was in Garden City, Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
Just doing some radio stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see
Moberly, Missouri for me?
Okay.
Yeah.
The pride of Mitch Richmond.
Yeah, that's right. Moberly Area Community College. Yep. Dana Altman coached Mitch Richmond at MACC, the Greyhounds.
Cortez Groves.
They've had some good ones. They have some bangers.
Yeah, they've got a kid who's starting, averaging like 15 points per game for Tulsa right now. Moberly. Ryan Hammer, who joined the show a couple of weeks ago, his trapezoid of excellence, 4 out of 4. Illinois, UConn, Michigan, Arizona. All 4 teams in his trapezoid of excellence. I can't remember exactly what his trapezoid of excellence entails. I think it's net rating versus pace, but all 4 teams are in the trapezoid.
Wow.
Once again. The other teams that that were in the trapezoid but not in the Final Four, Duke, Gonzaga, Iowa State. if Joshua Jefferson is healthy, Iowa State, trapezoid of excellence.
Yeah, they're a Final Four team.
They were right there.
They might have beaten Michigan in that Midwest regional final had they been fully healthy, but we'll never know. And look, I maintain I think Arizona's the best team in the field. It's why I picked them to win the national title. I picked 3 of the 4 Final Four teams correctly, including Illinois, and I took Arizona to take down Michigan, only to beat Duke in the national championship. So it looks like they're going to have to beat Illinois instead.
This entire time, I thought Taman was in the driver's seat of our Big 12 Radio Bracket Challenge, and he's not anywhere close.
It's actually my friend Matt Church.
Okay.
Good college buddy of mine, lives in the DFW area from Muncie, Indiana.
Oh, let's go.
Giving him a shout-out because he could very well be the gentleman who joins us. He got the Final Four correctly, and he's got Arizona winning it all.
What school is in Muncie, Indiana?
Ball State University.
That's it? Home of the Cardinals.
Yeah, buddy of mine transferred from Ball State to Kansas. So big Colts fan. We watched the Colts-Bears Super Bowl together.
As is Ivy Tech Community College.
Of course, it's the more well-known of the two
and University School of Medicine, Muncie.
And, of course, here goes the dynamite guy from Ball State.
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, is that you?
No,
that's me. Doesn't look anything like you.
I mean, a lot of parallels. A lot of parallels. Virginia fan called me that one time. All right, that's going to put a wrap on today's show. I'll tell you my story tomorrow.
What's your story?
Just something that happened to me over the weekend.
What can
One second I'm pumping gas, the next second I'm pumping pure adrenaline.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a showstopper. It's a showstopper. That's a tease. All right, coming up tomorrow, we will continue our Final Four preview, Arizona and Michigan. Special thanks to Fran Frischilla today, Brian Jeffries, the radio play-by-play voice of Arizona, Cory Williams, former Arizona player, now works for ESPN, and Nick Geramonte, covers TCU for Sports Illustrated. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westeline. For Anthony behind the scenes on the video side, for Will and Taman on the audio side, we're out. We're back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. We have been brought to you by our friends at Modelo.
Peace.